The Opening Drive on 101 ESPN.
What day it is, huh? Hump day!
Morning, everyone, and welcome to the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. We're at 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. That was kind of like a national anthem standoff there.
It was.
We had Danny, Mac, Brooke, Matthew, and Randy. How you doing?
Oh, good. I was worried about you for a second there, Randy. I didn't know if you were going to make it.
I'm going to practice today so that I can go longer.
I don't think people realize what we're doing here. Maybe we should explain how this is happening.
So, yeah, what's happened? I've always done the good, well, not always, but it's become a thing, doing Good Morning. And now I try to do good until Dan looks at me. But Dan decided to not look at me today.
No, I was looking at what we have coming up. And then
for the show.
Had to flip over to the next page and see Kyle Gibson's coming up.
Yeah.
Bob Nightengale from USA Today.
Looking forward to that.
I didn't
trade deadline.
Did not look over to you, Randy.
I'm sure you weren't purposely doing that, right, Dan?
Oh, not at all.
My son used to work for a website. I don't know if it still exists. MLB Daily Dish, but he wrote a lot of Major League Baseball. He really knows and writes very well. But one of the things, and Bob Nightingale could probably reference this too, during the winter meetings and the month of July before the trade deadline, they got at least twice as many hits as they did any other time of year because people are so interested in trade deadlines.
Don't you think that happens in the hot stove league too?
Totally.
I'm fascinated with the hot stove, and I think that's why we get involved in hockey free agency, NFL free agency. It's fun. It's sports now in 2024.
People have heard this before, but I'll say it again. And Dan Lebitard said it best. In America now, people like the transaction more than they like the action.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's also the drama of it, right? Because you don't know who is going to go, who's staying, the surprises that may come your way. There's a lot of drama involved. So I think that's why a lot of people get interested.
Yeah. Cards and Royals play a doubleheader today after getting rained out yesterday. Danny called that one. They called it at mid-afternoon, said that we're going to play a split doubleheader today, 12:45 this afternoon and then 6:45 tonight. Palante starting game one, and Sonny Gray, according to the Cardinals website, cardinals.com, is scheduled to pitch game two.
Well, the reporters are saying that it's still to be determined. They might push him to the Cubs series on Friday.
Which would mean, and Matthew brought this up, maybe Gordon Graceffo as the 27th guy gets a shot.
So he would get the extra man and start game two? Probably not, I wouldn't think. I'm not sure, but last pitched on the 4th of July, and it was only 2 innings pitched. He's scheduled to start today in the minors, so it would make a lot of sense that he'd be the guy that gets called up.
Yeah. And whether it's a piggyback with Liberatore and he starts and Liberatore is available in the bullpen, it makes sense because of the way he performed Graceffo out of the bullpen when he was up on the 4th of July.
So here's the interesting thing. Do you just keep him around? Because you have another doubleheader coming up against Chicago, so you just hang out? Or is it because he's a creature of habit, he's a starter in the minor leagues, and you feel like, we can't do that, that's going to put him behind the 8 ball? But if you only get a couple of innings tonight, I think you could probably push him and say you'll pitch over the weekend as well.
Then you have to send somebody down.
No, extra man.
Yeah.
Oh, so you just keep him around until you have to use him as extra. I got it. Yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely, you do that.
Yeah.
You let him get the Major League lifestyle for a few days.
So you just don't have the shuttle bus and say, well, go to Memphis and work out and then come back here to St. Louis and get ready to pitch. I think you just let him hang around and he would be the guy.
You don't want him to be Brad Thompson. You just keep him here.
Brad knew all about the shuttle bus, did he not?
He knew that route. His car, it was kind of like one of those self-driving cars that it became between here and Memphis.
Just kind of knew where it was supposed to go, what lanes to take. It was just perfect.
Yeah, he knew where the Taco Bell in West Memphis was.
All stops.
Isn't it amazing? I always thought about this. For as much as guys want to stay healthy and as much as the organizations want them to stay healthy, like you go down to the minor leagues and you're seeing guys eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah.
And they've made improvements with it big time. But for a long time, man, it was just like scrambling for food. Just trying to get, it was just a scramble.
Yeah.
living-wise, different. Remember Kyle Gibson, we asked him when he finally got his call to the big leagues, he was so excited to tell his wife, I'm staying at a Ritz. I'm staying at a Ritz-Carlton right now because the upgrades are huge going from the minors to the majors.
Yeah, and our guy, Matt Gifford, who is in charge of the ballpark now, he basically oversees what happens at Busch Stadium, but he was the president of the Springfield Cardinals for a long time, and he worked deals, and I don't know why every minor league outfit wouldn't do this, but he would work deals with local restaurants. So once a homestand, a certain restaurant would bring in food for the team so that they would have good restaurant quality food, and then they would get mentioned over the PA system or on the radio broadcast or something like that. It just made sense. It was a good business deal and benefited the players. To your point, Danny, I don't understand how teams can make these incredible investments in athletes and then have them eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
I remember talking to Keith Hernandez, and he said we were scrambling during spring training just to get peanut butter and jelly. Like, we were hopeful to get the sandwich and a bowl of soup. And now you talk about it, and guys are getting like 5-star meals sometimes in the minor leagues, which I think is great. I went to the Gateway Grizzlies game on Friday, and Friday night they had, and I was looking specifically for what we're talking about here, into what you're saying, Randy. They had billboards of local restaurants that do just a trade. So at least even at independent baseball, some of these guys are being fed a little bit better than they used to.
Yeah.
And you have some of the guys, when they go down for their rehab assignments, they usually pay it back. There's lots of stories about the guys when they go down there, they take care of the guys and treat them to a really nice meal.
There was both Chris and Shelley Duncan were bonus babies. They were both big money guys. And I think it was Travis Lee that got sent down by the Yankees, and Chris's brother was playing at the Yankees AAA outlet. Shelley. And everybody, like you say, Brooke, everybody that goes down buys a nice spread. Izzy always bought unbelievable spreads for the minor leaguers when he would go down for a rehab. And so I think it was Travis Lee got sent down by the Yankees and didn't buy anything for the players. And so he's there for like a week. And then on finally the last night, Shelley winds up ordering Outback for everybody. So everybody's eating steaks and eating great. And all the players thought that it was Travis Lee that had bought it, when in fact it was Shelley. And Travis Lee, everybody's thanking Travis Lee, and Shelley's just sitting back laughing because Lee is not saying it wasn't me.
Wow.
Oh, and he was taking credit for it?
I don't know if he took credit as much as he didn't say it wasn't me. And then so Shelley bought everything, and he never did tell anybody.
I would love to see players tip the clubhouse guys with enormous amounts of money. Now, I know the tips are handled differently now in Major League Baseball. It used to be, though, okay, final day of the season, player X walks up with a checkbook and says, boom, 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 here you go. And that's how those guys really made decent money.
Right.
Because it's a tough job, man. It's 24/7. These guys are on call. They're getting phone calls late at night saying, hey, I just realized I need this type of batting glove. I need this helmet. I need this, that, and the other. And so those guys are on call 24/7 for the players.
Right. Do you guys, by the way, speaking of the ancillary benefits for players, and all the players, if we ever have Skip on, he can talk about how they had 5 players staying in an apartment, and it was fun, and it's great stories and great memories. Is it better now that the minor leagues are providing housing for players, or might it have been a better team building exercise for these guys to have 5 to an apartment?
But you're getting some of the guys in a house, right?
Yeah.
So at least you're sharing the house. Now you're getting a little bit more space, you're getting a little bit more privacy, but I think there's something to having to live with your teammates.
I agree.
Even in the NHL, when I was doing the games a long time ago, they had roommates. Even at the NHL level. And then they negotiated in the PA. The PA was able to get individual rooms for the players, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think camaraderie is built even away from the ballpark or the rink.
Yeah.
I think that is better, especially when you get to the leagues, to have that camaraderie, but then the money kicks in, and so, of course, a lot of those guys are going to have a house or a place to themselves. But in the minors, the team aspect, I get what you're saying, but we talk about this with baseball a lot. Does the team aspect really matter in the minor leagues anymore, or is it kind of individual? individualized. And I'm not.
individualized.
I get what you're saying,
No,
though.
you're right.
I like that. If college baseball teams, you see that happen all the time, where guys live with each other. Some, when they make to the majors and NHL, as you mentioned, they'll have roommates with, guys that they play with, so you can build up that camaraderie. But now in the minor leagues, does it really matter to have that team aspect?
That's a great point. Yeah, the baseball part of it is so individualized. I have to believe that's part of it. But speaking of the NHL guys, tell the story about Keith Tkachuk that one time in Toronto.
Oh, this is good.
When he said, "What are you doing?"
With the homeless guy.
Oh, he did this multiple times. I mean, walking back, I'll just say generally what he would do. He's renowned for being one of the best tippers and one of the best people ever in professional sports. And if his kids are just like it, by the way. Yeah, and if he saw a homeless guy, boom, there's money for him. There's leftover food. They would purposely, if they didn't finish their meal, they'd pack it up and find a homeless guy to do that. He took care of Red, who is a long time. I say clubhouse attendant for lack of a better word, but locker room attendant, and took care of him all the time. I mean, he made a point to go out of his way and make sure that he did that. I'll give you a personal story, and I think I've told you guys this. I'm at a restaurant, and I send over a couple drinks to he and Doug Waite, and he comes up afterwards, and my back is to them, and just big claw hits the top of my shoulder, and he said, "Don't you ever do that again." I said, "I'm just trying to be nice. You're great to me. I wanted to do something for you." He said, "Do you understand how much money I make? I pay for the drinks around here." He was awesome, man.
Yeah.
He's just so generous and such a good guy.
Yeah, and that's what you want. And the Duncans same way. And maybe there's something to be said for the family aspect of things, because that's what you hear about Brady and Matthew, is that they do the exact same things that Big Walt does.
Yeah, apple doesn't fall far, does it?
No.
I mean, these guys, and Matthew and Brady, and it's been well documented, but they grew up in the locker room.
Yeah.
I mean, they grew up watching their dad. They grew up being around the game, and it's just by osmosis. You start as a kid seeing that. You're like, well, that's the way you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And they're terrific.
Yeah, by the way, one quick one. And we all hear the stories about Patrick Mahomes picking up the check for entire restaurants in Kansas City, which is cool. Patrick Mahomes is he should be the king of Kansas City. Kurt was a lot more subtle about that. One time I heard the story about Kurt picking up tab for was during the season, so it was homecoming, and there was a group of about 20 kids at a restaurant in Chesterfield for a homecoming dinner, and Kurt and Brenda pick up the tab, and I think this was 2000, so he'd gotten paid by then. And I went up and said, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" He said, "Yeah, no problem." I said, "I heard that you were at whatever restaurant it was on Saturday night, and you picked up." And he turns around and walks away. He didn't want anything.
Yeah.
He didn't want anybody to know that he had done that.
I think more times than not, I don't know if you guys agree, but I think more times than not that happens than we ever hear about.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really do, because these guys are making an inordinate amount of money.
Yeah.
And why not do it? It just makes you feel you always get more out of giving than what you get.
Right.
And there's really truth to that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have so many just great athletes who give back here in town.
We're so lucky. Yeah, and you know what, Brooke? I think that in general, like Dan says, I think athletes do a great job of that with stuff that we never hear about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it should be. You should never hear about that stuff. It should be done because you're doing the right thing.
Think about the things that Ozzie Smith has done.
Oh, my
that
God.
we've all heard about in this community, but it just doesn't get publicized.
You know that I love golf, and I'm in the golf community, and he's a lover of the game and doing some wonderful things. And you wouldn't believe some of the stories about how he gives of his time. And I mean, he's pulled that still in every direction. Before there was McGuire, there was Ozzie. And he was a national brand, and he was like that too. Remember Brian Bartow telling me that the team was ready to leave, and they were getting on the bus. It was kind of a late game, and the bus did not leave until Ozzie signed everybody's autograph. They were just lined up.
So nice.
Yeah, and he signed. Albert got better, I thought, at the end. And traveling with him, the beginning, he just kind of put his head down coming out of the stadium on road games and just get right on the bus. And in his final year, he signed a lot. He would stop and take pictures. He would sign. And he realized that this was the end, and maybe he wanted to take care of more fans, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, and I know we got to get to a break, but I got two quick ones. Number one, I don't want to forget to bring up Aeneas Williams, who does so much incredible stuff for our community. He's just an amazing human being. He's one of my favorite people. If I could be like somebody when I grow up, it'd be Aeneas Williams. But one time I was doing an open line at KMOX probably late 80s. And back at Al Lang in the outfield, they had like these wedges of seats. So it came down to a point and went all the way to the top. And half hour after the game, I'm doing open line or sportscast or something, and I see the wedges full of people, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think I didn't really look closely. Then I look. The Cardinals had played the Orioles that day in St. Petersburg. And there's Cal Ripken, number 8, signing every single autograph. As that wedge gets smaller and smaller, he was allowing people to come down and have a personal moment with him and signed every single autograph for maybe 150, 200 people.
And you think about the kids, how impactful that is.
Yeah.
They'll never forget that, even when they become grown men and women.
And here's a guy that I think they were in Fort Lauderdale at the time. I think the Orioles were in Fort Lauderdale, who was getting ready to drive back across the state.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's the way it should be done. It's unfortunate we don't see it enough, but I do believe that it's part of. If you want to grow the game, that's part of growing the game. That's why I love, if you go to the ballpark early, you're going to see guys sign. And they should be signing. Just take 5 minutes and do that.
I do. I pay attention to that, to the players who stop and actually sign autographs for the young kids, because the look on their face, they'll never forget that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's Brooke. That's Dan. I'm Randy. Coming up, it is Wednesday. It is Happy Hump Day. It's Ask Uncle Randy Day. And you can get your text now. 314-399-9646. 314-399.
Yo-ho! Yo-ho.
On the opening drive or the morning drive.
We were running. Well, I messed up the names.
Here's the thing.
It's the opening drive during the morning.
Drive.
The day part for all 5 of our stations, this is called Morning Drive, whether it's the Riz Show or the Courtney Show or the AD Morning Rock Show or the Casey Show on WI. We've got 5, and of course, Morning Drive also applies to TMA. So that's the day part, but our Morning Drive show at 101 ESPN is the opening drive. Ask Uncle Randy is next. Matthew Rocchio has your texts. If you have any questions about, here we are in the middle of the summer now. If you have any questions about life in general in the middle of the summer as we traverse the last 6 weeks of the summer vacation, send us a text. We'd love to hear from you. And let's get going. Matthew, what do you got for us?
Ask Uncle Randy. Hi, Randy. I have a new son who's almost 11 months old, and I'm loving fatherhood. I am deeply afraid of projecting literally any of my interests on him because I want him to be truly himself. But also, if he doesn't become a Cardinals fan, I will be devastated. How do I navigate the fear that he may be a fan of another team? I know Patrick is a Giants fan, and I'm curious how you've dealt with that.
This is totally osmosis. And here's the deal with Patrick. There were a couple of things. Number one, his favorite player was Mike Matheny. And after 2004, Matheny goes to the Giants. And Patrick was all in on Matheny.
It
And
was 3 years, $12 million, I think, for that deal.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yep.
But he was there 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but had the concussions,
right,
and didn't play that long. But Patrick is a massive Giants fan to this day. Your youngster is going to learn through osmosis. You don't have to project anything on him. You're in St. Louis. It's the old Jack Buck line. You know, people say you're a homer. Well, what am I going to do? Root for the Padres? No, you're a St. Louisan. You're a Cardinal fan. So don't worry about that. And if he decides to like another team, that's great, because that'll cause you to learn about another team. That's what's happened with me and the Giants. I know a lot about the Giants that I would have never known had my son not been a Giants fan. My daughter is a big fan of Kevin Durant. So whether it was Oklahoma City or the Warriors or the Nets and now the Suns, we're fans of those teams, and she's a big NBA fan, and so we watch a lot of NBA. I don't watch a lot of NBA, so they'll pick it up on their own. He'll pick it up on his own. Don't worry about that, and just enjoy that process. But let me tell you this, and Dan, especially with your sons, I think you can agree with this, and Brooke, you will learn this too as a sports person. My best bonding moments with my dad were over sports. My best bonding moments with my kids are over sports. I know, Brooke, your best bonding moments with your dad were over sports and fast food.
Oh, yes.
Right?
To this day.
Yeah.
To this day.
No doubt about it. And Danny, you've talked about it with your dad. I think that between, and moms too, between parents and kids, the best bonding agent is sports.
Yeah. I remember fondly going to the old Big Red games. Loved it with my dad. It would be swirling wind at the old Busch Stadium, freezing cold, but I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. And then going to the ball, I think the other thing about a young fan, whether it's a boy or a girl, is that first time you go to the ballpark.
Yeah.
If you can remember it. That first time when you're, let's say, 4 or 5 years old and you walk in and there's the green grass. I mean, it's cliche and I guess it's kind of sappy, but there's a lot of truth to it. That first time you walk through, it's awesome.
Yep.
It's just something you don't forget.
You know what'll make you cry? The first time your kid asks you to go to a game, to take you.
Oh,
yeah.
That's sweet. That's when you tear up. But I think you're right. If they see you having fun watching it, then they will also want to enjoy watching it too. And going to the games together, I think that's the most important part of what you're talking about, is that you actually get to spend time together, make those memories. And maybe as a little kid, they won't remember every single aspect of the game, but they'll remember how special that was, being able to go with it to you.
My parents dipped me in a vat of Cardinals Red like I was a Maker's Mark bottle the day I was born. My two favorite sports are basketball and football.
Oh,
you can't. You can't control these things.
No.
Like, now you just ruined the whole narrative there, Rock.
Yeah.
But no, my point is to him is that you can show them your favorite thing, and it can be an entrance into a love of sports, but it's not necessarily going to cloud their interests.
I have a million stories. I can see Scipio Spinks pitching right now in the very first game I ever went to, Cardinals and Cubs. I can see the Blues taking on the Broad Street Bullies. They were taking on the first hockey game I ever went to. We were sitting up in the corner. Do you remember the stands at the old arena where you couldn't see the scoreboard, so they had a television with a camera shot of the scoreboard? And I'm watching the Blues play the Flyers. And then I can remember so vividly in 1974, that first year, and we started going in 1971 to football Cardinal games. 4-9-1, 4-9-1, 4-9-1 the first 3 years. I remember Metcalf's rookie year, how impressive he was, but they went 4-9-1. But man, I have such great memories of that 1974 team that started 7-0. And going to those games, and the start of the Cardiac Cardinals was awesome. So your 11-month-old son, just take him and let him grow as a sports fan.
Uncle Randy, my boss says I can't be promoted unless I come back to the office. I work 100% from home, and I'm a very high-performing worker. What's the move?
I would say that if you can find a job as good as this one is, and you are dead set on working at home, then you get the job where you can work at home. However, we are required here, our whole group, our whole building, salespeople, well, pretty much everybody, is required to be in the office. I prefer being in the office, but if you prefer being at home and you're a high performer and you can get another job that allows you to work remotely, that's great. I know several people whose job is as recruiters, and the first thing that recruiters get asked right now is the job remote?
Mm-hmm.
Can we do this remotely?
We could easily.
If I wanted to go down to Florida and take a few days, can I go remotely?
Yeah, easily.
That's what I thought. I mean,
You ready to like fiddle with a lot of technology?
yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
It's easy. Yeah.
We got you. We got you, buddy.
Although I was going to ask
we'll look
you,
at your background, and it's just like an ocean.
Yep.
you got to make sure and have a
Not
good.
wrong with
I
that.
find myself when I watch the talk shows on television, I'm looking more at their background than I am
Yeah.
paying attention to
Oh.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
100%. Especially remember during the Zoom era of COVID, where everybody, I mean, during that, obviously, I was back at KMOV, and I mean, everybody was doing stuff from their home, and we'd always get emails about what was in our house.
In our
I hate how,
Yeah,
I hate how
and
curated
everything.
you had to, like, your background had to become. I hated that so much.
They actually sent Costas a banner for a studio. It's
smart.
Studio 24/7, right? It's Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle. And so he puts a banner up in his kitchen because he got tired of showing his refrigerator off.
Yeah.
He's got a banner, and the MLB named it Studio 24/7 with those two for Mays and Mantle.
I'm sure his wife loves that when she walks in to cook some lunch. Like, can't you even get to the freaking stove right now?
And by the way, if I were your boss, I would be doing the same thing. I would want people in the, and I get people that want to work from home, but I would want people to be in the office too.
What if Bob wanted to make lunch?
Yeah, that's true.
Just saying, you know,
Well, he's working.
anybody can
Anybody
make
in the
lunch.
house walks in. I wasn't saying it like that, Danny. Jesus Christ.
I don't
My
know.
God, why'd you have to make it
Rocky.
like that? I was just talking about somebody else in the household.
I was just giving
Their
you
kids are
trouble,
out of the
Rocky.
house. She's the only one there, I assume.
Rocky said, make me a sandwich.
No, she was making herself food. Ask Uncle Randy. I have a coworker who makes significantly more than me, and in my opinion, he's the laziest one I've ever seen. Every day I'm angered because of all the effort I put into my job and not feeling appreciated. Unfortunately, in the corporate world, people just don't seem to get fired. Should I be more vocal to the bosses about his lack of effort, or look for a new job and leave it alone?
You know what I would do? I would be more vocal about my own situation. And because you are a higher performer, I would, it's a respect thing. And you don't even have to mention him, but you go in and ask for a raise for as much as that guy's making. And you say to yourself, well, you just go in and you lay out the facts. Okay, here is my production level. Bing, bing, bing. I believe I deserve X amount of dollars. And I would lay it out that way. And you just use facts. Don't use opinion. Just point out to the boss exactly what you do and how productive you are for the company. And if they take it, great. But if you're a high performer, there is a market for high-performing people in the workforce. And you can go to LinkedIn or you can go to Indeed.com, and you can find a job that will pay you what you deserve.
I think that's the key here is to not bring up that other person. I do understand the frustrations. I get that. We've all been there before where somebody's not pulling their weight in the workplace. But if you bring up that other person in those discussions, then it will look very combative and it will not be a productive conversation. So you
I
have to
agree.
handle that very carefully.
Boy, I went to our management and just buried you guys. Yeah. You know,
I
that's
got
how
called
I
into the
roll.
general manager's office yesterday.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dan.
Uh-oh. Everything okay?
So our general manager is awesome. He says, what you do is perfect. Your content is great. What you do is absolutely. So I have no complaints about the way John Kioski feels about me. He's been
Good.
best. He's been the best boss I've ever had. He's fantastic.
I just rip you guys. That's what I go right into John's office. I say, John, here. No. Since I started, I haven't had a meeting with John. He just did a formal meeting.
Yeah. No,
He's
you don't
just
have
so
formal
nice.
meetings with him.
Yeah.
The only formal meeting you have is when HR is called in.
My goal is to avoid formal meetings. Yeah, my goal is to avoid formal meetings with him. Dear Uncle Randy, I just gave my kids some baseball cards, Topps 2024. Should I let him play with them, or does he have to just look at them like I did with my now worthless starting lineups?
Okay, I want to. This is hard for me because I'm not aware of the baseball card industry right now. My first inclination is to think there are so many baseball cards made now that I would let the kids play with them because the value doesn't exist like it did back in the day because so few cards were made. I don't know if that's the case anymore. That's just my perception. But if you're if you want to get your kids interested in baseball cards, I think the thing to do is allow them to look at them and play with them.
I need to go back and look at my baseball cards. So as a kid, I used to go to the baseball card shop. Mm-hmm. I would save up money to go get I go get a Stan the Man card. I go get a Lou Brock card or something like that. And I need to go back and look. And I'd put them in plastic. So I was one of the guys, kind of as a young kid, that I had a vision. I had a vision that this is going to explode, this market. No, I didn't. I really didn't. But the market did explode. And so my mom, God love her, she saw that I would do this. So she has got me every year, still to this day, the top set, and I keep it in plastic, and I have it for probably over 2 decades.
That's
amazing.
Oh, my
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a friend who had a relative die who had a massive card collection, but had like 2 or 3 Nolan Ryan rookie cards in perfect condition.
Oh, yeah.
And had no idea what they were worth, and they're worth like unbelievable amounts of money.
Randy, that's what I got.
That's
I
awesome.
need to go
That's
through
great.
that stuff.
Really? Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I need to.
You know
need
what
to get it insured.
What I did with my baseball cards was I took and you youngsters won't understand this, but I took a clothespin and I hooked it to the spokes of my bike to make it sound like a motor, like when.
Oh, I did.
No,
I did
that's old
that.
school,
Did you?
yeah.
Oh God,
That's
yeah.
what happened to my baseball cards.
I got in trouble
That's
because
what happened.
because if you pedal fast enough, the card lights on fire and you ruin your parents' pinochle deck.
And by the way, that was right there. That was a motor for that. It made your bicycle sound like a motor. It was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like. It wasn't like a kitty purring or anything like that.
You know what I saw at a shop recently, at a thrift shop, and I wanted to rip them off. It was a Willie McGee baseball card, but they were using it to hold earrings.
Oh, interesting.
What the?
Yeah.
So they plugged it through the card.
earrings. Yeah.
Disrespectful.
It is disrespectful.
I felt like it was.
Yeah.
But they had a bunch of baseball cards that they used to put jewelry on.
Okay. Got one more, Matthew?
Just a baseball card person said, get anything graded that's pre-1979.
Okay.
So I do
That
have
stuff
a
can be
bunch.
valuable, he says.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of really. We used to trade baseball cards, so I would take advantage of kids in the neighborhood.
Danny, I'll happily sit there and help you go through them.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
I love
need
that-
to go
I love
back.
that stuff.
I need to go back and look. I don't know what I got. I know I have some that I just mentioned, but I need to go back and look.
I don't know if he still has them, but when Alan Watson came up to the Cardinals,
So
Ron
funny. I was
Jacober-
going to bring him up.
Yeah, 6,000 Alan Watson rookie cards.
Yeah. Okay, so Alan Watson, going back to an original point of what brought you to the ballpark, it was blistering hot, 100 degrees at the old Busch Stadium. We snuck down and watched him warm up. And the bullpens, remember, were down the right and left field lines. And I remember just watching how hard he was throwing and was amazed as a kid. And that's another reason I got hooked into baseball, is watching Alan Watson warm up. Kind of weird. I don't think anybody else has that story.
No, they don't. The night before my son was born, Alan Watson blew an 11-run lead for the Cardinals in Houston.
Do you remember he started 5-0?
Yeah,
He had a
got
great
off to
start.
a great start. Yeah. And so I asked Joe Torre about that just a couple of years ago. I was thinking Osborne. He said, do you remember that game in Houston when Osborne started and you guys had an 11-0 lead? You know, that was Waddy. He's with Alan Watson. And he said he goes out for the first inning after we score 11. And he's kicking at the mound. He said, I knew we were going to blow that lead. And so what happened was, after Patrick was born, the next night the Cardinals are home, Torre, I thought, was going to congratulate me on Patrick being born. He said, Randy, after the media scrum, he says, Randy, close the door. Close the door. He said, you know that game on Monday? This is like on Thursday night. I said, yeah. He says, I knew Watson was going to blow that blanket lead.
That's so funny.
So it was still hanging with him, though. That was crushing. Then he told me that when he got Watson with the Yankees, Watson gets into trouble. They've got like a 6-0 lead. Watson is reliever. He walks out to the mound, and they're in Cleveland or something. And Torre says, Waddy, I just want you to know that if you don't protect this lead, you're walking home.
That was it.
Yep. And Watson was fine. He got him 1, 2, 3 and was fine after that.
That's the way
and
it should
actually
be.
Pitched reasonably well for the Jonkies. All right, that's Ask Uncle Randy. Thank you very much for your text. We do appreciate it. Coming up, are the Cardinals a 90-win team this year? And if they are, is that enough? Are you comfortable with that to make the playoffs? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you are trying to advance in your career and you want to do better, one of the things to do is get a better postgraduate education, and Lindenwood is the place to go because you can advance your career with Lindenwood University's online program. Flexible, accessible online learning. You can choose from over 35 industry-relevant degree programs, including options for military students. Learn more online at lindenwood.edu. It's online.lindenwood.edu. And Lindenwood has one of the best postgraduate programs online in the entire country. And Forbes magazine calls it the best MBA in Missouri in 23 and 24. They do amazing work, and you can learn about what they do at online.lindenwood.edu. I attended Lindenwood, and so many people have advanced their careers by getting their MBA or other degrees at Lindenwood online. For your busy schedule, for great adult education that's going to be perfect for you, it's Lindenwood University. Learn more about their great programs at online.lindenwood.edu.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals were postponed yesterday, so they will face off against the Royals in a doubleheader today. 12:45 first pitch, 6:45 first pitch for Game 2. Andre Palante, who was supposed to be yesterday's starter, will still start Game 1, but Game 2 is still TBA for the Cardinals. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Your St. Louis Cardinals are headed into tonight's action 5 games over 500, which is something a lot of us thought they would never see this season, but the Cardinals have been hot. Third best record in baseball since Mother's Day, and if the Cardinals can play 12 games over 500 the rest of the season, they can win 90 games. Right now, they're 48 and 42. And if they can go 42 and 30 the rest of the way, that will be 90 wins. They seem capable of that. They seem capable of it. But would 90 wins, in your opinion, kids, be enough to make you feel comfortable about the Cardinals making the playoffs? I believe 90 wins will make the playoffs in 2024 in the National League.
100%, but do you even need 90 wins? I mean, look at the Diamondbacks last year. They had 84 wins going into the playoffs, and I would say it worked out pretty well for them, where they got all the way to the end. So you don't even need 90 wins to feel comfortable anymore. It's more of get in at this point. And having the position of being a wild card, I think, is actually a huge advantage.
So here's some numbers. If you guys want to dive into this, it kind of is interesting. In the last 4 full seasons, I was doing the numbers last night knowing that we're going to talk about this, but in the last 4 full seasons, the NL Central champion averaged 92.7 wins. Mm-hmm. The Cardinals, by the way, are on pace for right around 92.7 wins. So it'd be about 93, obviously, if you round up. Since the playoffs expanded to the 3 wild card teams, the National League's 6 wild card qualifiers have averaged 89 wins. So if you get to 90, you're probably in. And to Brooks' point, it can be a bit misleading because the 2022 Mets won 101, but last year Miami and Arizona needed only 84. So you're definitely going to be in the discussion. You're definitely having a chance to win the division. And by the way, Milwaukee lost last night, so you're 4 games out. Yeah, I the way I look at it is forget the wild card. Go win the division. I've been saying that for a long time. Go win the division. It's up for grabs.
3 back on the loss side against Milwaukee. And this is an interesting team because the Cardinals have played 2 different seasons. They played the first 6 weeks, and they've been a different team since May 12th, basically. And that's why I feel confident that they could get to 90 wins. I feel very confident that they can go 42-30 the rest of the way, and I think that would provide more than enough comfort to make the playoffs. And I think because I don't think Milwaukee's run into the really tough part of their schedule yet either. I think the Cardinals are very capable, even with 90, or as you said, Dan, 92-7?
Yep,
If they get to 93 wins, I feel great about the division.
Even with the season.
Go ahead, Brooke.
I was going to say, from the 3-4, playoffs or not, that is a huge turnaround from last year. I think that is a very fair point. With 71 wins just last season, this is a huge turnaround. And things did not look good from the beginning, and it was very scary, rightfully so, for everybody to be concerned. I was concerned. I mean, we were all talking about, okay, what are they going to have to do to dismantle this team and be sellers at the trade deadline? And look at how quickly the discussions have turned.
Right. I don't want to dismiss what you said right off the bat. I agree with you that being a wild card is better than being a division winner. Now, not having
Because
the
of the
3
format.
days off, right? Being able, there's a couple of things that go into it. Number one, I think if you're a wild card team, you have to be battling down the stretch. You have to be sharp in the games in the final weeks of the regular season. But the other part of it is, once you get to the playoffs, so much of it is momentum. And if you're a division champion, yes, you get to set up your pitching, but we've seen it every year that they've had the bye. The team that has the ability to play and has momentum seems to have the advantage. The rust is a factor for those teams that win the division.
Yeah.
And when I said that they're a 93 pace, I meant that with the pace that they're currently on, as
Yes.
Randy mentioned, the 33-18 run. So I'm not including the front portion of the schedule. The thing that I look at, too, is how they're playing on the road. They're back to 500 on the road, and they're 6 games above 500 at home. So that is obviously something that stands out. The relievers, though, here's where it gets interesting for me. On the previous road trip, the relievers had to do 44% of the innings. Now, they were great. They had a 1.59 ERA. So as you approach the trade deadline, would I love to see another starter, a guy that could be your number 1 or number 2? Obviously, I would. But I would load up on that bullpen because you are really dependent on the bullpen. And guys just aren't going 6 or 7 innings. Now, Max Scherzer, he's been showing that he's going 7 innings, even right out of the chute here. But my point is that you're relying so much on the bullpen. Bolster that bullpen and see what happens, even if your starters don't go very deep into games.
If you add another starter, though, then do you feel comfortable moving one of the guys who's in competition right now to the bullpen?
Palante? Yes, I do.
I like Palante as a number 5. I think he right now he's pitching better as a starter for whatever reason than he is as a reliever, and he's going to get a start today to continue to hold on to that number 5 spot. But the bottom part of the rotation, like Lynn, is going to be good sometimes, and then sometimes you're just going to get a clunker like he had the other day.
I think the thing with Palante, though, is you can't put any of the other 4 in the bullpen. You're not putting Gray in the bullpen. You're not putting Gibson in the bullpen. You really can't put Lynn or Michaelis in the bullpen. So if you go out and get, to me, the only thing you trade for if you're getting a starting pitcher is a front of the rotation guy to move everybody else down. Palante is the only logical choice, isn't he?
I would think so. I'd be interested with Lynn out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
He's done it before. Now, do I think that they would do that because of his track record and his career of being a starter and at times being dominant and signed as a starter and a veteran? I don't, but I'd be really intrigued about what he would look like coming out of the bullpen.
You know what I wish was out there, and I can't find him? This year's version of John Lester. When the Cardinals got John Lester. If you could get that guy that had been through the wars, or John Lackey in 2014.
Jay Happ.
Yep.
Yeah.
That guy that had been through the playoff wars before. If we could find that guy, that'd be perfect. And Lester wasn't under the radar. Both of those, Lester and Happ, were under the radar guys, weren't they? Because the expectations weren't high. But I'd love to get a guy that has been through the playoff wars before.
Or even a 2022 Jordan Montgomery trade for Harrison Bader. But Harrison Bader, his value was very high at that point.
Right. So I'll be really interested to see. And we're at the 10th right now. We're only 21 days away from the trade deadline.
Has a starter become overrated?
I don't think come playoff time they have.
Okay.
I think
They're very,
I think it's quite fungible when you look at Milwaukee. As you mentioned, Dan, they've used 14. They're and they're going to use their 15th starter here this weekend. They're going to set a record by their 100th game for most starters ever used by the Brewers. Cardinals used 14 the year Kyle died, right? And wound up winning almost 100 games, 97, I think. But once you get to the playoffs and you need to go head-to-head against Wheeler, who beat the Dodgers last night, and Nola and Suarez, or you're going to get the Dodgers, and Bobby Miller didn't pitch well last night, but you're going to have Yamamoto, and you're going to have Bobby Miller, and you're going to have a healthy Buehler, and you're going to have that gang, or you're going to go against Atlanta where they have Sale, who's been brilliant and pitched well against Arizona last night, and Max Fried, and that. You're going to have quality starting to go toe-to-toe in the playoffs against the best teams.
I'm going to go back to the bullpen just for a moment. So the Cardinals are winning on the road. They had a very good road trip. In the wins, the bullpen pitched 19 2/3, gave up 2 earned runs. So that just shows you the importance of how these guys and what they've meant to the team. And during this 33-18 run, the relievers have had the best road ERA in all the baseball. So as I look at the stats and why the Cardinals are winning, I think it comes down to bullpen. And that if you can't find that starter, Randy, to your point, and is not a frontline guy, then I'm bolstering my bullpen as much as I can.
You have to. I think that you have to add pitching, and more pitching, huh? We talked about going into the season and now at the trade deadline.
Yeah. By the way, are you guys at all intrigued? And I know that the postseason numbers aren't there, but a guy with great stuff over the years has been Kevin Gossman.
Yes, he intrigues me. Yeah, for sure.
He would be a really interesting get for this team.
He was, at times, a couple of years ago in 22, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Dominant.
Yeah, so he's done it, been there, done it, and can you find that magic again, which might be what you're talking about, Randy, finding that guy that's kind of flying under the radar, and that would be a name that would interest me for sure.
And by the way, he's got 2 years left at $23 million per.
That would make sense then.
That does make a lot of sense.
And 34, 35 years old, those years coming up. Coming up next on 101 ESPN, we have Take It or Leave It. Get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Good job, everybody.
Already did it.
I know you already did.
Okay.
Tioli is next on 101 ESPN. The agent that you choose to sell your home matters. You need a written guarantee. You need a written guarantee that you're going to get your desired price and be able to close in your time frame, eliminating the guesswork, and that's exactly what Gloria Lou does. I'm sure you also want the most money, right? Well, Gloria already has buyers, thousands of them, in fact, that are looking for a home just like yours, and they're willing to pay top dollar. How does she have the buyers? Well, she's been in the business for 20 years, and she's put together a database of buyers that are in your area and in your price range. An exclusive database that's 20 years in the making. And that's how Gloria nets you the most money and creates the highest demand. Many times with multiple offers, and that means more money in your pocket. So think about it this way. You get to sell fast, and you get to sell for the most money. Can't do better than that. And that's why you need to call Gloria Lou at 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or just visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. As always, Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date. To learn more, visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. Call Gloria Lou today if you're interested in selling your home, 314-325-6888.
take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Guys, I want to do a revisit. This is something that we've hit on, and we will again, I'm sure, over the next couple of months. But take it or leave it, we see Jordan Walker in St. Louis again in 2024.
Ooh, at this point, kind of up in the air about this. I will take it, but maybe way later on in the season.
I'm going to take it because there's been a lot of talk about trying to find a right-handed complement to all the left-handed bats that you have, in particular in the outfield. So I'm going to take it. And, when rosters expand, it wasn't like it used to be where you just bring anybody you want up. But I could see that potentially being a bat that you add down the stretch and get him back, get him some positive vibes to finish his season. And maybe sooner rather than later. You never know about injuries and that kind of thing. But as Mo has talked about a lot, it's about producing. And so at this point, that's not the case. But I do think at some point this season, we will see Jordan Walker. I really do.
That's why I was hesitant, is because of the recent comments about production. And then you look at his numbers, and the production is still not there with what they're wanting.
Yeah, 1 for 3 last night with a walk, and has, at the moment, the most important number in their eyes, 689 is his OPS in the minors.
I think the big question right now is he's still untouchable. And I think he still is, but maybe if you're just blown away by some kind of deal, and I mean you better be blown away, then I think he could be part of something. But I don't see that happen. I really don't.
By the way, Ivan Herrera, another right-handed hitter, with a home run last night for Memphis, his OPS is 1.4. He's hitting down there. So he'll be back soon.
That home run that he hit, was watching the game, was an absolute bomb. It's one of the longest home runs I've seen this year.
I think he wants to stay around.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so I'm always trying to figure out ways to make the All-Star festivities a little bit more exciting. So take it or leave it, there should be a home run derby for former players.
Oh, I'll take that, Brooke. That's a great idea. Yeah, definitely.
Did you see Jose Canseco come out and say it should
That's
be
where
for
I was. Yeah, that's where I was going with that.
I think it makes some sense. I'd watch that.
I would. I think it would be really fun to watch.
I wonder if Big Mac would do it.
I don't think he would.
Really?
Probably not.
He wouldn't?
My gut tells me he wouldn't. I think he's just happy with his playing career. He doesn't need everything that's brought up again, which will be some of the subject matter that's brought up. I think he's had enough.
But sometimes I think that it changes the public perception as well in a positive way. If you are out there in the public and you are mic'd up having a good time, we've seen where a lot of guys have started their broadcasting career and it's changed things in a positive manner for how people view them.
I think that's a fantastic idea, which is why I'll be out at the O'Fallon Hoots on July 27th to watch the Fast Lane take on the Riz Show, and also going to be some pro athletes out there hitting some home runs.
Are you going to participate this year?
No, they don't need me. Marsh is going to be there. They don't need me. I was a sub. I was a sub last year. That was clear.
Yeah, I'm in it this year, so I didn't know if you were going to make a comeback, Rocc.
No, it's the Fast Lane versus the Riz Show. I was a sub because Marsh couldn't do it.
Oh,
they don't want me now.
Okay, so
they don't want me.
Presuming we would have one in Texas in a couple of weeks, I will give you either Albert or the field to win the former player home run derby. Who are you taking?
Ooh.
I'm taking the field because I don't know what kind of shape Albert is in right now. He might just... Well, I mean, what happens is you get so tired playing in the home run derby, they can just throw fresh guys out there. So I take the field.
I'm trying to think of who. Would they allow Robinson Cano?
Ooh, that's not fair.
That's a good call.
Yeah, Cano would be interesting. Bonds would be, but he was at that the Willie Mays celebration the other night. He looks like he could still play.
Oh, yeah.
So,
would you do an old timers game in St. Louis? I'd love to see that.
I would too. Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think Matt Holliday can still hit.
100%.
We saw him on opening day, and I said, "Man, you look like you could play right now." And he said, "Oh yeah, I could."
Yeah, why not? So you stole my thunder here, Brooke. Kind of. So my take it or leave it. The home run derby is actually a bigger event than the All-Star game now.
I will take that.
Yeah.
You think 100%. More people watch the home run derby rather than watch the All-Star game?
Yes.
I do. Yeah, I think there's more interest in it.
I do too.
It is fun to watch, I will say. Like, I'll watch that out of anything the entire weekend.
Yeah. The All-Star game is better with the pitch clock. I got to tell you that, though. Because the All-Star game used to go like 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
And now that they've got the pitch clock, at least there's a little bit more alacrity to it.
They need to put the home teams need to have their home uniforms of their particular team on,
Yes.
and the away team, whatever it is, needs to put their away team for that particular city.
They should all be wearing gray. Except this year, where the stupid gray bleeds through the sweat. It's just awful.
See the Dodger game the other night?
Terrible.
Like, they get up there and the pants are dry and the shirt, the jersey is completely drenched,
Yeah.
and it just looks like
awful.
two different uniforms.
I don't know what
Yeah.
people were thinking here. It is just awful. All right, Matthew, what do you got for us?
Take it or leave it. With $8 million in cap space, there's still a top 4 defenseman or a top 6 forward move for the Blues.
Leave it.
What if you're able to get Torrey Krug off the books somehow,
That'd
some way?
be good. I think, though, and we talked to Curbs about this a couple of weeks ago, I think we tend to focus so much on the cap aspect of this that we aren't focusing on the cash aspect of this. The Blues are a business that deals in cash money. And with the Bally situation, I'm not so sure that the cash situation isn't as big as the cap situation right now. Not that they're in any dire straits financially, but why the Blues know, they've told us they don't expect to be a Stanley Cup contender, right? They when they named their coach, they said this is the teaching coach, and then when you're ready to win, you get the championship coach. If you're in a teaching phase, why go up to the cap if you aren't going to win this year?
Well, they did bring in Claude Julien, and he has quite the pedigree
He
and
does.
resume.
But he also
Was making about 150 or 200,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
A little different than the
Yeah.
millions that you put into your salary.
I think a lot of times, and it's easy for us, we don't focus on the cash situation, and I think that's a big part of the Cardinals and the Blues right now.
I've been thinking about this lately with Torrey Krug. I guess from a hockey perspective, why would you want to stay here? They're showing you they really don't want you.
Right.
They tried to trade you.
Yeah.
They're going to probably approach you again and say, you know, your movement, your no trade clause, we'd like to waive that if possible, get you to a new place. But then I guess from a family perspective, you're saying, this is why I had my leverage when I signed this, and I'm staying in St. Louis.
I think he was building a house
Right.
here around that time, and then kids, all that stuff. I think that he wasn't willing to move. And that's the thing, is that he can do that, but I get what you're saying. It's like, I wouldn't want to stick around. After somebody tried to move me, I'd be like, oh, hey, we're just going to put this house on wheels and take it somewhere else.
I just think, like, from the human element of it,
Yeah.
you know, do you really want to stay in the place that you're not really wanted? Mm-hmm. Didn't seem like they want him.
But I wonder who else would now.
That's the question.
Yeah.
Takes two to tango.
Yep. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
And thank you very much for your texts. We do appreciate them. Coming up, what do the Cardinals need to accomplish before the All-Star break? Not many games left before the All-Star break, but what do you want to see them do? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
Let's tell you about Stewart's American Mortgage. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refinance, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things, let me make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. He's going to help you every step of the way. If it's a new home you're looking to purchase, he'll get you to the closing table fast. How fast? Try 10 days, and he'll get you the best interest rate possible. And he also has the bagel loan. That can help you out, too. So what's the bagel loan? If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing costs. Stewie, he is your guy. He makes it easy for you. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends, give Stewart a call. And here is his direct personal cell phone. Write this down, text him or call him right now. He'll answer 314-324-4440, 314-324-4440, or you can Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Fresh perspective on today's top stories. This is Fresh Take.
Presented by Lindenwood University. Real experience, real success.
8:05 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mack, Randy Carricker, and the Cardinals start the day in second place in the National League Central with a record of 48-42. They are 3 back in the loss column behind Milwaukee, 4 back in the standings. But the Cardinals also are only 3 behind Atlanta for the National League wild card, the number 1 wild card spot in the NL, and they're 3 games ahead of the Mets for the final wild card spot. Right now, San Diego holds the final wild card spot. They are a game and a half behind the Cardinals. Cardinals have 2 against the Kansas City Royals today, and then 4 against the Cubs over the weekend to wrap up the quote-unquote first half of the season. So with these games against the Royals, who are much better than they were last year, they're 49-43, 2 games out of a wild card spot in the American League, and then the Cubs, who have the 4th worst record in the National League. What would you like to see the Cardinals accomplish? Out of these 6 games, I want to see them go 4-2. I want to see.
Why are you stealing my thunder?
I'm sorry. That's just what I want.
Okay.
But I can be very specific if you want.
Oh, you can go wherever you want, Randall.
I want to split against Kansas City today and tonight, and then I want to take 3 out of 4.
That's where I was going.
Okay, good.
All right, next segment.
You
Let's
don't
go.
want to throw a sweep in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So if we could go 6-0, I would take it.
Exactly. That's what we should be shooting for, the Stars right now. I really, honestly, for me, is, of course, going 4-2, 6-0. That would all be fantastic. And big, bold letters, all I'm thinking about is staying healthy right before the All-Star break. That is the key to me, is making sure that you can keep your bullpen healthy, because they've been on fumes. I know that Ollie Marmol has mentioned that they've been running on fumes. They've been used a lot, as we've talked about, is for everyone to stay healthy. That is the key for me, because you're also getting guys back around the right time. You have Lars Nootbaar, as we saw, returned on Monday after dealing with oblique injury. And then you have Tommy Edman, who's down the minors. By the way, he got his first hit of the year in Springfield last night. So you're getting guys back, it seems like, at the right time. He did tell reporters, by the way, that he thinks that he'll be back with the big league club at the end of the month.
Okay, that makes sense. He needs an abbreviated spring training. I mean, he hasn't swung a bat in months. What, 8 months or something
10,
like that?
yeah.
10 months, yeah. The Cardinals, by the way, are scheduled to face the following against the Cubs: Hendricks, Wisniewski, Assad, and Tyone, all right-handed pitchers. Imanaga is scheduled today against Baltimore, and Steele Thursday against Baltimore. So you're not going to see left-handed pitching, which has been talked about so much, you know, being a left-handed hitting team primarily, outside of some of the guys like Arenado and Goldie, but you face so many lefties on that road trip. Now you get some righties, and that's another thing I'm looking at to do some damage this weekend. And it looks like if Graceffo would make a start tonight, then you can push back your rotation, and you have an off day tomorrow. Guys should be rested. Starters should be rested right before the break, and you get a healthy pitching staff and probably full bore ready to go with your starters because of the rest.
I think player-wise, maybe just seeing some more consistency from Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. We know that we were seeing him hit a little bit more here lately, but some consistency built up before the All-Star break. Does that feel like a key for you guys, or are you fine with them just getting to the All-Star break? A break obviously will be good for them, and then see what the second half looks like.
Yeah, I think just consistent hitting. At some point, I want to see power from those guys. If I can get from Nolan Arenado for the rest of this week and this coming weekend, what I got from him leading up from that road trip, I would be fine with that from Arenado, because Contreras is giving me so much. I really don't know what to expect from Goldie at this point.
If you look at the numbers, and we keep saying, well, he's taking better at bats, and it looks like a 2-week stretch where it looks like he's ready to take off. The numbers basically are the same across the board for the entire year. The one thing that I look at, too, is that in the 5 of the 7 games that they won on the road trip, they averaged 6 runs a game. They hit .292. They slugged .432. So, you know, you're talking about an offense that's clicking right now. So I would say continue that. To your point, Brooke, though, finding a way to get through this doubleheader, I think it's a key without burning your bullpen, even though you do have an off day tomorrow. But you got a big 4-game series, another doubleheader. You need good starts. Give them 6. You know, hopefully you get a 7-inning start mixed in there and can kind of save the bullpen moving forward and then going into the break and getting a much-needed rest.
I think Kyle Gibson's daytime start on Saturday against the Cubs is going to be the one that you're looking at.
Yep. Got to have somebody go, give me 6, give me 7, give me just a little relief in a doubleheader game.
At the moment, Miles Michaelis is scheduled to pitch the nightcap. If he can do what he did in Washington, then you've got something there.
How good has he been here? I don't think enough people are talking about. This is not a small sample size. This is a large sample size, probably a month and a half, 2 months. He's only had a couple of clunkers in this season. He's been very good.
Well, when he has a clunker, then he responds really well. His next performance out there. By the way, just a quick update. Katie Wu of The Athletic tweeting out that it does look like Gordon Graceffo will be coming up today. So Sonny Gray will be pushed to this weekend.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
It does. I like that.
Not official just yet, but that seems to be the indication.
And even if Graceffo lays an egg tonight, then you should have a bullpen that is somewhat rested after the off day yesterday, and then you have a situation where, you know, another off day tomorrow. If he doesn't pitch well, then you got enough arms to cover it, and then the off day tomorrow should help things out going into the weekend.
So if the Cardinals could go 4-2 over the weekend and today, that would get them to 52-44 at the All-Star break. I think that's more than acceptable, especially with the fact that they were, 9 games under 500 at one point during the season. That's a pretty dramatic turnaround. The other thing to look at, is this weekend. By the way, the Pirates just drilled Milwaukee last night, 12-2, a 6-run sixth. It was a 2-2 game, grand slam by Joey Bart, and they were able to get it up to 8-2, at 12-2. Two more against the Pirates for the Brewers, and then they have Washington over the weekend at home. So the Brewers should be set up to have a successful stretch run to the All-Star break too.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now, scheduling-wise. Now, for the Cardinals after the All-Star break, how do you guys feel about the schedule for the second half after the All-Star break?
I think it's pretty tough in August.
It does.
If you start looking at the August teams that they have to face, and that's why you got to try to make hay here in the final 6 games at home. It's not an easy schedule, and you know that some teams are going to go out and make moves, especially those in contention. It seems like every team in the National League is in contention, so I think it's going to be a tough stretch of games coming up for the Cardinals right out of the chute in the All-Star after the All-Star break.
That's why it's important to build up those wins going into it, because as you mentioned, you have Dodgers, Padres, Mariners. It does not get easier.
No. The last 3 games before the break, by the way, the Cardinals play the Rangers here. I hope the Rangers check out before those 3 games. I hope they decide, it's not going to happen for us this year, and they traded a bunch of starting pitching.
All right, take it or leave it. The time of game on Sunday will be under 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Take it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Guys are looking to get the hell out of town, man.
No doubt about it.
It'll be quick.
So that's today's Fresh Take on 101 ESPN. Coming up, there's some interesting things regarding the trade deadline, and we've got another name for you to throw out there in regards to starting pitching. That's next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. Rain washed away the Cardinals' chances of facing the Royals last night, so the first installment of the I-70 series for the season will be played today as a part of a split doubleheader. Game 1 is set to begin at 12:45, and Game 2 will be scheduled for 6:45. The pitching probables for Game 1 will be Andre Palante and Alex March, and for Game 2, it will be to be determined for the Cardinals and former Cardinal Michael Wacha for the Royals. Sonny Gray was set to start on Wednesday, but could be pushed to Friday's series versus the Cubs.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
My home improvement company of choice in the St. Louis metro area is Chesterfield Fence and Deck. In business for 56 years, they did my fence, and they do such great work on sunrooms and screen rooms, patios, pergolas, and of course, they do a great job on vinyl and cedar fences and vinyl and cedar decks. If you want a beautiful deck, the Vecca vinyl deck from Chesterfield Fence and Deck is amazing. You can see it on their website at chesterfieldfence.com or head on out to their facility in Chesterfield Valley and check it out. You can also give them a call, and they'll come out to your house, 800-300-4054. And that new pewter vinyl Vecca deck is amazing. It's a beautiful gray that looks absolutely fantastic. You'll love it. From Chesterfield Fence and Deck. And if you're looking to get a sunroom or a screen room, maybe something that you really don't have a lot of ideas about, they'll come out and provide you a free, no-obligation project design from Chesterfield Fence and Deck. Show you pictures of jobs that they've done so that you'll have the perfect setup for you. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. You'll love working with them. They're great people. And you can find them on the web at chesterfieldfence.com or give them a call at 800-300-4054. Tell them Randy sent you. You can get 48 months interest-free financing from Chesterfield Fence and Deck. The sign. You have the very best. Well, I have consistently mentioned that, in my opinion, I think the Cardinals need to be gearing towards the playoffs as they approach the trade deadline. It was September and the playoffs, people that have been there before. And we've talked about a lot of people. We talked a couple of segments ago about Kevin Gossman, who doesn't have the best postseason record. A guy that does have a great postseason pedigree is Nathan Eovaldi of the Texas Rangers. Now, last year, they signed him to a 2-year contract. Brooke actually wanted him in free agency last year, right?
Yes, I was a very big fan because it made a lot of sense. And then you saw what he was able to do with the Rangers. When you're talking about that pedigree, Randy, he has that. He has that ability to not only get you to the playoffs, but be that guy for you during the playoffs. So I think that that's actually a great move. The Cardinals can pull that off. I'd just be interested to see how they could pull that off and what you're moving in return.
That will be interesting to see because Texas has had a bad offensive year, but they're very young offensively, and they still have hopes. They got 2 rookie outfielders, so I believe they still think that their offense can be fine, but if you're trading people like Eovaldi, Scherzer probably won't be back after this year. You don't know about DeGrom, so you're going to have to get young starting pitching back if you're the Rangers. By the way, Eovaldi, postseason career 9-3 with a 3.05. That's a 750 winning percentage, by the way. He has won a World Series, and in 79 2/3 innings pitched against the best offenses you'll see in the playoffs, he has 82 strikeouts and 18 walks.
Prior to last year, to Brooks' point, there was a lot of interest from a lot of teams, but the Cardinals were included in that. They liked what they saw clearly with him, and Randy just gave the numbers in postseason play. If I'm the Rangers, I'm not sure. I want to roll it back out. I'm not sure how much I'm dealing just because I'm coming off a World Series where some teams think, okay, I've got a grace period now. I don't need to satisfy the fan base as much as I might have to in years past. But because of that trio, they can go on a run. Now, you got DeGrom, you got Scherzer, you got Eovaldi, you got that trio, and you say, if we get back into this thing, if we just kind of hang around, we got a shot because of that trio. And you mentioned a lot, Randy, the starting pitching going into postseason play. I just wonder what the appetite would be for them to say, let's give up on this year, because they still haven't had this trio together. It's been a long time, and I just wonder if that's something that they have to look at.
I think there's a lot of teams in this position. We were talking during the break of, okay, well, which teams are even going to be true sellers this year at the deadline? Who do you guys think are the true sellers this year?
I think there's
just a handful, maybe 4 or 5.
3 in the National League and maybe 4 in the American.
Yeah, that's what makes this trade deadline really tough and really fascinating.
And maybe if you're the Cardinals, you have to, because of that, like I'm looking for a right-handed hitting outfielder among one of those teams. There's only one out there. He's not playing right now. His name is Mike Trout.
I'd love to have Mike Trout. So would I.
Nice.
I'll give up. I would trade Victor Scott II for Mike Trout today, as long as they pick up a bunch of his salary.
Straight up.
Maybe what you do is you look at another team that also thinks that they have a chance and give them what they need. I don't know what I'm assuming with all of their injuries, the Mets would be looking for pitching. Maybe you go out and try to make a baseball trade for a guy like Bader.
You may have to. You may have to make a baseball trade, and what you're saying is it's truly good for both sides.
Yeah.
It's not lopsided. It's not giving up prospects. Maybe it's about 2 major league talents that go and swap and are able to do what they need to be done for that particular team. I don't know, Randy. That's a good point. I mean, maybe we see more of that this year just because there's so few teams that are really truly out of this thing. And I've always felt like you owe it to your fan base that if you're in a position to get in, you have to go for it, because you don't know when you're going to be back there again. And there's a lot of teams that we're talking about that are in this jumbled group that could be buyers. I'll give you a great example, like Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. If I'm Pittsburgh, I got to take a look at, because of what I have at the top of my rotation, I've got Aroldis Chapman in the back end. I've hung around this far. A lot of times they get off to good starts in recent history and then fall off. Now, they are 8.5 games out. They're 4.5 back of the Cardinals, but that is ground to make up. I'm not sure that I would be a team that would say, or an organization to say, well, we're out of it and we're just going to start selling off parts. I don't think that happens.
Yeah, you owe it to the fans, number one, and also for the players, because if you look at the Cardinals specifically, the way that they have battled back to get to this point, you owe it to them as well to be able to continue to add on, which I think another important discussion here, which is starting to pick up steam, is the conversation. Ken Rosenthal, Katie Wu have been talking about this, about the addition of a right-handed bat.
They have other major league pieces that they will be able to move because of their injured players coming back. Newt Barr came back last night. Ivan Herrera, the catcher, is about to come back, and then they're expecting Tommy Edmonds sometime after the break. He's been out all year with a wrist thing. Who knows how that's going to go, but they have the ability, as you mentioned, to trade a Dylan Carlson, to trade a Herrera, and do some things in that way to get what they want. Now, what should they want? They're left-handed, too left-handed. They want some right-handed hitting. Obviously, Goldschmidt and Arenado succeeding in a better way would really impact that. And also a starting pitcher. It's going to be interesting to see how they approach that.
I'm really surprised that this is starting to pick up steam, because honestly, I know that there's been discussions about adding a right-handed bat, but I was like, well, how does it really fit? How are you able to fit another right-handed bat, specifically an outfielder, into this mix-up with the lineup? How does that fit into the situation? And does that also indicate to you that they don't see Jordan Walker coming up anytime soon?
I would say that for sure, because he would be your option to bring up. He would be the guy, and you say, well, we're starting to see signs, the peripherals, the fact that the standard numbers look good, average is up, slugging percentage is up, OPS is up. So that would be the logical guy, but you just haven't seen that. And I think to Ken's point is that you're going to have some assets here that if you're trying to get a right-handed bat, you're going to have to clear up some space on your roster. So it wouldn't surprise me if some of these major league guys are made available for other teams, and that's when you can make your move.
And if you are too left-handed, you have extra left-handed bats to move, maybe that is where you go.
I also think that they need to improve their bench. I think that there's a weakness with this club in terms of how deep the bench is. I would look at a bat to come off the bench, too.
Well, and you could use a right-handed bat
That's
specifically
where I'm
off the
going.
bench. And
Yep.
maybe Herrera winds up being that guy, or maybe Herrera winds up in a trade. But not that this would happen, but I wonder now, because it wasn't too long ago that Lars Nootbaar was a highly coveted player in Major League Baseball. Well, now you've got Donovan playing left, and you've got Burleson playing right, and you've got the other left-handed batters on the way. In addition to the other left-handed hitters that you have on your team, you have more on the way. So I wonder if there's a Major League lefty hitter that they would consider moving that they might not have considered moving in the past.
I also wonder if it's tempered a little bit because of what they did against 5 lefties here on the recent road trip. Do you sit there and say, well, yeah, right-handed bat would be nice. Certainly it would be, but we've shown we can hit a little bit of left-handed pitching and even lefty on lefties. So I wonder if that's just giving them a little breathing room going into the trade deadline.
The other part of this is they just can't give up something, an asset, just to have somebody who happens to hit right-handed. I mean, if you get a right-handed hitting Michael Ciani, and all credit to him because he's gotten a lot better offensively, but what's the point if you have a right-handed hitting Michael Ciani or a left-handed hitting Michael Ciani? If you have a guy that's hitting 212, why put in a right-handed hitter just because he's right-handed?
Yeah,
it's got to be a right-handed hitter that can actually hit.
Impactful.
Yeah.
There's got to be somebody there that maybe cracks your starting lineup, but I'm also looking at a right-handed bat that could be a DH and coming off the bench. And that doesn't necessarily mean he has to be an everyday player in the outfield, but just somebody to give you another option and a little bit of a jolt. Their bench is really important to me.
Yeah, just a little pop off the bench. Now, when you're talking about evaluating that, what about Brandon Crawford? And I'm not advocating for anybody to lose their job, but do you ever see the Cardinals maybe DFAing him to free up some of that space on the bench?
I don't. I think when you have a veteran that's been around for a long time and has had great, and I mean great success at the major league level, and you bring him in, I'm sure you make the promise to him you're sticking around all year. And we feel that it's not only what you do on the field, but it's your presence inside the clubhouse and what you mean to when you're on the bench. And I think he's been fine. I mean, he's been exactly what you signed up for. And I just don't think that they make that move. I really don't. There's kind of some of the unwritten rules in baseball that if you bring somebody on like that, unless he was hitting like 059 for the year and just can't play, then you have an honest conversation with him. But at this point, Brooke, and I could be wrong, I just wouldn't do that. Not yet.
Yeah.
No.
He's basically your 25th player. He had a 710 OPS in June. He's got a 1,000 OPS. He's only had 3 at-bats in July, but that's the point. He's only had 3 at-bats in July. So my question would be, I'm not worried about a guy that's only had, how many at-bats has he had this year? 20, 39, 49, 53. He's had 56 at-bats in the first 90 games.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really concerned. Here would be my concern. What if Mason Wynn gets hurt and you don't have Brandon Crawford? Then what?
Fermin would be your option, and I'll go with Brandon Crawford.
I would too.
Yeah.
Or Tommy Edman when he comes back?
If he comes back?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, Randy, come on. He's yeah.
He was supposed to be ready for opening day.
He did say that he'll be ready by the end of the month.
And we played game number 90.
I think it's going to be great and fascinating to watch when he comes back, because I do think he'll come back, barring a massive injury or something that happens to his wrist. Yeah, knock on wood for sure. How they use Tommy Edman.
Yeah.
You could spot him at short. You could spot him at second. Can play all 3 outfield positions if you wanted to. Maybe DH every once in a while. I mean, he's a versatile guy. I think it's going to be fun to watch how they use him.
I'm intrigued too, and I think we do all definitely love him. But because he's so versatile and such a good guy, I think we tend, and he's a streaky hitter, I think we tend to overestimate his offensive ability at times.
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't think anybody should usurp Ciani in center field. I mean, Edman was supposed to be the everyday center fielder. The way Ciani's played, he's got to play for me.
Yeah.
He's got to play.
That is Dan. That is Brooke. I am Randy. Coming up, we've got the fight. Matthew, you need a fighter today?
Yep.
All right, let's get a fighter. All you need to do is text in 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! And when you text in your name and the word fight, maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and this year we decided it was time to make a major change to our home by updating our bathroom. We have this house in U City. It's over 100 years old, and we love it, but we never exactly loved our main bathroom. So we decided that we were going to make a big change, and we reached out to one of our great sponsors here of 101 ESPN, and that is E&B Granite. E&B Granite's team visited our house for a free consultation, and they came up with the vision of how to really transform our bathroom. My favorite part of working with E&B Granite was stopping by their showroom to explore their large selection of in-stock custom countertops, all of their cabinet options. Jen was the one who was working with us, and she has been fantastic. She came up with so many great ideas for us that fit within our budget, and I'm happy to report that our bathroom is finally done, and it looks exactly like how she told us it would. It is absolutely beautiful. We love it. It's now one of my favorite rooms in the house, and you should go and schedule your free consultation with E&B Granite by calling 314-645-9300 or go online at embgranite.com or stop by their amazing showroom today and make sure you mention that I sent you.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals were postponed yesterday, so they're going to play two today. 12:45 first pitch for Game 1, 6:45 first pitch for Game 2. Andre Palante, who was supposed to be the scheduled starter for yesterday, will start Game 1. And right now, Katie Wu is reporting on Twitter that it is expected to be Gordon Graceffa, who is eligible to be called as the 27th man for Game 2 against the Royals. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
to the opening drive. Brooke, Dan, and Rocchio here, and it is time for the fight. And we have a new fighter today. Our fighter is Chad. Chad, how are you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Oh, we're doing great. Is this your first time facing Randy in the fight?
It is.
Well, you got to be pretty nervous then. This is a big day in your life, and I'm sure the nerves are pretty high right now.
Pretty much terrified, Dan. You're right.
No. All right. Well, just as I always say to those that are nervous, just get the puck deep, get in those greasy areas, take the hits, give 110%, and you'll be just fine.
Fair enough.
Fair enough is right. So here we go with question 1.
All right. In the Super Bowl era, only one of the current 4 NFC East teams has picked number 1 overall in the draft. Which was it? Is it the Giants, the Cowboys, or the Eagles?
I will go with, let's see, I know the Eli debacle, but he wasn't picked 1. Let's go. Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, right?
Yes.
Let's go Eagles.
Final answer?
Yes.
Okay. We got question 2. Here it is. Who is the only Cardinal to win an MVP, Silver Slugger, and Gold Glove all in the same season? Was it Albert Pujols, Paul Goldschmidt, or Willie McGee?
Let's go Albert. Final answer.
All right. On to question 3.
All right, 1985 was the first time in the Super Bowl era that a running back went for just over 1,000 yards receiving. In fact, 2 running backs did it that year. Roger Craig did it both on the ground and in the air, but Lionel James also passed the 1K mark. Which team did he do it for? Was it the Broncos, the Chargers, or the Raiders?
Boy, we are going back on these. I'll take the Chargers.
Nicely done, Chad. All right, question 4. Which 80s classic movie starring Robert De Niro was a retelling of the story of boxing legend Jake LaMotta's career? Was it Raging Bull, Cinderella Man, or $1 Million Baby?
The movie, was it from the 80s?
Yeah, it's from the 80s. Robert De Niro, retelling the story of boxing legend Jake LaMotta. Was it Raging Bull, Cinderella Man, or $1 Million Baby?
Raging Bull, final answer.
Well done, Chad. Let me go get Randy. And how you feeling right now in the fight?
I'd be shocked if I got. I think I got 1. We'll go with that.
Do you feel like you got 1 because Dan was giving you a little bit of a hint? He's been doing that lately, giving people a little bit of an indication of how they might have done with a question.
No, I didn't pick up on that, but.
Well, he told you did well after one of the questions, so that's a pretty good hint. All right, Randy is back in the room. How are you doing, Randy?
I'm doing great,
The grapes,
thanks.
I was looking for them. Can't find them.
They're all gone. Every single grape has been consumed.
All right. And say hi to Chad.
Chad, good morning. How you doing?
Doing well, Randy. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for playing.
Those grapes flesh you out, or what's the deal?
Love the grapes. Just they taste good. They're nature's candy.
Okay.
Nature's candy.
Wasn't sure if there's a medical reason as to why you made
no.
Okay, just a healthy snack.
By the way, 2 days ago, if you're not aware, was National Chocolate Covered Almonds Day. Were you aware that Monday was
No.
National Chocolate Covered Almonds Day?
How did I miss that holiday?
I don't know. I almost did. Thank goodness I figured it out late.
Was that a question on the fight?
It wasn't, but it should have been.
Should have been is right.
Yeah.
Here we go with question 1. You ready to roll?
Ready, sir.
All right. In the Super Bowl era, only one of the current 4 NFC East teams has picked number 1 overall in the draft. Which was it?
Let's see. How about them Cowboys? Russell Maryland was a first overall pick. So was Troy Aikman for the Cowboys. Oh, there's 3 of them. Let me think. Russell Maryland, Troy
I was just
Aikman.
thinking of the third. I actually had the first. The one that you have not gotten, I had it first.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
First pick in the draft for the Cowboys. Well, I know it's them. I'm just not going to go with it right now. Let's see. Wide receiver, DB. Boy, well, it wouldn't have been in the Landry era, so it
Think
had to
defense.
be. Okay, I will. So you had, I don't even remember right off the top of my head. I'll think of it by the end of the whole show. By the end of the segment, I will think of it. Too tall?
Ed.
Too tall? Jones.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. You already picked the Cowboys, so we're just giving a little history.
Okay, good.
All right, question 2. Who is the only Cardinal to win an MVP, Silver Slugger, and Gold Glove all in the same season?
MVP, Silver Slugger, Gold Glove. I'm going to play the odds here and say that it was Albert Pujols.
Final answer?
Well, Willie, I don't know if he would have been a Silver Slugger in 85. Hit 353. Had 80 RBIs. And you didn't have positional outfielders then. So Willie could have done it. Gold Glove. I'm going to say it was Albert.
Final answer?
Yes.
On to question 3, please.
1985 was the first time in the Super Bowl era that a running back went for just over 1,000 yards receiving. In fact, 2 running backs did it that year. Roger Craig did it both on the ground and in the air. But Lionel James also passed the 1K mark. Which team did he do it for?
Little Train. Lionel Little Train James of the Chargers. San Diego Superchargers. Now, he did play for Cincinnati, too. But I think that year, in 85, he would have been playing for Don Coryell, which would have opened things up a little bit. So I'm going to say that he was playing at that point for the Chargers. By the way, on today's football Immaculate Grid, it asked for a Steeler and Falcon. And I put Kerry Davis in there, baby.
Oh, there you go.
And it worked.
It worked, yeah. 0.3%.
Question 4.
Yes.
Which 80s classic movie starring Robert De Niro was a retelling of the story of boxing legend Jake LaMotta's career?
I know the movie. Hold on. I'm going to get this. Hold on. I don't want to use the lifeline here, but hold on.
It's going to drive you crazy when you have to use the lifeline.
I know it's because it's right there on the tip of my tongue. I can see it in my brain. I know.
Come on, Randy. Let's go. You're supposed to know everything.
Give me the lifeline.
All right. Okay, you ready?
I'm stupid, yes, but I'm ready.
$1 Million Baby.
No.
Cinderella Man.
No.
Raging Bull.
There you go, Raging Bull. Sorry. I'm an idiot.
Well, you got it right.
Well, I'll take that, but I'm still...
Was it enough? Or does Chad take down Randy Carricker? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
It's always that one.
It's always that one.
The ocean comes in.
Or is that the bus?
Just win, baby.
That was the panic bus.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sounds like it sounds like there's like an ocean
It
breeze
does
going
sound
on
like
there.
an ocean.
Chad, I'm sorry you put up a good fight, but Randy Carricker got you in the end. He beat you 3-2 today.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Let's go through the questions and answers. In the Super Bowl era, only one of the current 4 NFC East teams has picked number 1 overall in the draft. Obviously, the Giants got the number 1 overall pick in a trade, but they picked number 4 where they picked Rivers in that move. But it was, in fact, the Cowboys' 3 first overall picks in the Super Bowl area, and we went right through them. 1974, Ed Too Tall Jones. 1989, Troy Aikman. And 1991, Russell Maryland. The only Cardinal to win MVP, Silver Slugger, and Gold Glove all in the same season is Willie McGee, as Albert Pujols and Paul Goldschmidt missed out on their Gold Gloves in that season. 1985, the first time in the Super Bowl era that a running back went for 1,000 yards receiving, and 2 running backs did it that year. Roger Craig, well known for being the first to ever do 1,000 on the ground and in the air at the same time, but Lionel James in that Air Coryell offense did also get 1,000 yards through the air for the Chargers that season. And which 80s classic movie, in fact, that came out in 1980 starring Robert De Niro and the incredible Joe Pesci, was a retelling of the story of boxing legend Jake LaMotta's career. It was, in fact, Raging Bull.
So a contender.
There you go. The 3-2 win for Randy Carricker in the fight today. Chad, thank you again so much for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Thanks a bunch.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Chad. Good to have you with us. Coming up, because we're going to talk to Kyle Gibson at 9, we're going to have the Rush Hour Reset for you next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. It's because I really felt like I've joined a community over there. I love going and working out with my personal trainer, Christine. She's so much fun to work out with, and I've seen huge results in my fitness goals this year because of her. I go to the West location. I also go over there to play tennis with Scott. It's been so much fun to get back to the sport that I played my entire life, and it has also helped me with my pickleball game, which I really appreciate. They always provide such a wonderful experience over there, and that's why I love my MAC.
The Cardinals were rained out yesterday, so they will play a doubleheader today against the Kansas City Royals. A couple of contests. That's what a doubleheader usually entails. We've got a 12:45 with Marsh for the Alec Marsh, not Andrew, going for Kansas City against Andre Palante of the Cardinals. And then the nightcap, Katie Wu reporting, correct, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
that it'll be Gordon Graceffo for the Cardinals, and he'll be opposed by the former Cardinal Michael Wacha tonight.
So we're hoping a 4-2 homestand at least if you're a Cardinal fan, because doubleheaders are so hard to sweep. They are just very tough to sweep. So maybe a split that you're looking at tonight, and then you have the Cubs. By the way, I should tell you that the Cubs are pitching tonight in Managa. And then they have the game on Thursday against Baltimore, Justin Steele. So both lefties will be used. Hendricks, Wisniewski, Assad, and Tyone. Looks like that's the four that'll go against the Cardinals, which they have another doubleheader against Chicago this weekend.
And I think you also have, like you guys intimated earlier, the last game of the first half is always a complete wild card. You have no idea what's going to happen there because you take a 3-0 lead early. The other team might be like, well, that's the first half. All right, boys, let's wrap her up and get out of here in 145 flat. So
you're going to see some quick at-bats.
There's three weird kind of like wild cardy games in this six-game stretch.
Yeah, makes it fun. I know Kyle Gibson is listening, so Kyle Gibson is coming up, and we anticipate that he'll go at least 9, maybe 10 innings this weekend.
Oh, yes. That's, I mean, at minimum, right?
Yes.
That's the expectation.
Jack Morris in the World Series type performance.
The bullpen could be gassed, and all of a sudden, Ollie says, we need 9 out of you, big boy, and he's going to give you 9.
Kyle Gibson has been such a great addition. I'm not saying this just because he might be listening. I'm not kissing up, but I'm being dead serious here. He has been a great addition to the starting rotation and has surpassed my expectation. I think many others' expectations as well. Also, have you guys noticed lately you're seeing a little bit more swing and miss from him?
Yeah, I think he's been great this year. This has been more than I think some maybe anticipated. Probably not him. I would hate for him to come on the air and say, yeah, I'm pitching a lot better than I ever thought. You know, you got to have confidence, and every time you take the ball, you got a great chance to win, and he's a pro.
And if I'm a young pitcher, if I'm a Palante, if I'm a Liberatore, I'm watching the way Kyle goes about his business and the way he pitches.
Pitch maker, man.
There you go. There's so many pitchers that just throw. And with this staff, not just Kyle, but with Sonny Gray and with Lance Lynn to an extent, with the way he chooses his pitches, and Michaelis, a lot of times you have to battle. And that's how you wind up. That's why Adam Wainwright was able to pitch in 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, because he battled. And Kyle is a great battler.
I don't want to take away from the physical greatness that some of these relievers have across Major League Baseball. But I was watching the other night, and I'm flipping through all the different games, and I'm watching every guy come out of the bullpen throw at least a minimum of 95, and they're throwing 96, and some guys are throwing 98, and I'm just wondering, do these guys really know how to pitch? And it's no disrespect to them. I mean, if I had 98 in the tank, I'm firing it too. But do they have any idea where it's going? Is there a pitch maker that is coming out of a bullpen? You don't see many coming out of a bullpen anymore.
Yeah,
at all.
That's a very fair point. By the way, when we're talking about guys throwing hard, did you see that Tyler Glass now is on the injured list?
Yes.
The IL for the Dodgers, their starting rotation IL is just insane if you think about it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It is.
And Bobby Miller wasn't great last night.
No, But you look at the guys, and let's consider the fact that Shohei isn't pitching. Let's put him in that list, too, okay? So you've got Shohei, Kershaw, Buehler, now Glasnow, and Gonsolin, and that's your top five, and that doesn't even include, like, Dustin May.
Exactly.
And some of the other guys that they have. It's unbelievable what they have on the IL.
And that's why they're going to be so tough down the stretch, postseason play. But again, you win your division. Are you really getting rewarded for that if you have that best record and have time off? I don't think you are.
No, I'm with you. By the way, you mentioned throwers versus pitchers. Let's give some credit to Jordan Hicks, who's maintained a 3.47 ERA this year. His record down to 4-5. But when you watch him pitch, he actually does pitch now, as opposed to what he would throw that sinker 8-10 times in a row when he was here. Now he's got secondary stuff that's made him a lot better. He's not the strikeout guy that we thought he would become. Not that he's not a strikeout guy, 82 strikeouts in 90 innings, but when you throw 103, you expect that you're going to have more than a K per inning, right?
I would think, with great movement. Do you remember the at-bat against Odubel Herrera? He hit 105 on the gun. I mean, it was so much fun to watch. It is insane. But to your point, Randy, I mean, he's learned how to pitch a little bit more. You take a little off. You stay in games longer. And he also did some work in the offseason with, I don't know if it was Driveline or what group he went to, but also developed some type of off speed that is a compliment to his fastball. So a lot of credit goes to him.
18 starts for Hicks this year.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know if it would last. Did his fastball velo come down a tick just to help with that?
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Sure. Command. I've always asked, I because this is a huge John Smoltz thing. Give up a little velo for command. And Carlos Martinez, that's something that he would never do. And I just wish that we could see more pitchers. And I get that velocity plays, especially when you're trying to make it or stay in the major leagues, because people are enamored of that. Again, go back to Kyle. There is so much to be said for not throwing 103 and throwing 98, 99 and being able to put it where you want it.
And also being able to go deeper into games. If you're saving a little in the tank, you can reach down and do that. Also, if you can spot a fastball, you don't have to show everything else. You can use that second time through, third time through, maybe something different that you haven't shown a particular hitter. So that's something to keep in mind, too.
That's another Smoltz thing. I don't know why he hasn't coached, but he always talks
because
about
TV pays him a lot of money.
That's true. He does make a lot of money on TV. But if you have the stuff, if you have 3 pitches, first time through the lineup, maybe you just use a couple of them, but save something for that third time through the lineup that the hitter hasn't seen before.
And I think that's extremely important, and it goes back to a guy like Kyle Gibson. I think he does that, and it just shows you that's pitching and not just throwing.
Kyle is probably on his way to the ballpark. He is from Big League Impact and joins us next on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Guys, I talked to you a lot about mentality at lowtusa.com and how you are able to get your energy level back that you enjoyed as a youngster with mentality. You know, there's no better safe and insured medical solution available to get your energy back, regardless of most medical conditions. So when you go to mentality, they're going to ask you that. Their board-certified physicians are going to find out what your medical history is. They're going to do a complete test to find out where your testosterone level is. And almost inevitably, it's going to be lower than it was when you were in your 20s. And at Mentality, they have an FDA-approved testosterone supplemental treatment that will be applied every week, and you'll be able to take advantage of it and get your energy level back. Thousands of St. Louis guys have been able to go to lowtusa.com, set up their appointment at either the Chesterfield or South County locations, and get their treatments so that they can regain normal function and restore the ability to perform normally at all levels. It's a difference maker for every single guy, and you should learn about it at Mentality. Learn more now by going to lowtusa.com. Brooke, Dan, and Randy, the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Cardinal right-hander Kyle Gibson, on behalf of Big League Impact, joins us as he does every week here on 101 ESPN. Cardinals getting ready for a doubleheader today. Good morning, Kyle. How you doing?
Good morning, everyone. How are you guys today?
We're doing well. Hey, I want to start with this. When you are involved in a day like today, a doubleheader, and you aren't pitching, do you entertain yourself, or are you enough of a baseball fan that you just like to sit back and watch the games? How does Kyle Gibson, when he's not pitching, treat a doubleheader?
Oh, man. I feel like I'm a pretty busy person. I talk a lot. So I do entertain myself, but normally it's in the dugout, watching the game, finding guys to just mess with a little bit. Normally the starters who aren't in the game, we're going back and forth on a few things. And then just some of the position players that aren't in the game. And then even kind of poking and pressing into the guys in the game, always trying to get Goldie to do a celebration at first base when he gets a bullet all over the field and he won't ever do it. Just different things, trying to keep energy going. And these are long days. And I've told our position players a lot this year, listen, I cannot understand the grind that you guys go through for 162 games. So when I'm trying to encourage you and act like doubleheaders are no big deal, it's not because I just think this game's easy.
I like that. You keep things light in the dugout. That's always really important. I'm sure you guys are feeling great right now, especially after going 5-2 on the road trip. I think one thing, when I'm looking at the first half of the season for what you guys have been able to accomplish, is the way that you guys are resilient. A lot of adversity that you had to work through and face, and also your ability to bounce back. Even if you have a bad game, this team seems to be able to really respond the next game. What does that say about this group and the resilience that you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think those kind of traits that you just talked about there are pretty contagious. They're pretty infectious throughout the whole group. I think even though we got beat pretty bad in that one game in D.C., I feel like you still saw a lot of guys taking really good at-bats toward the end of the game. You saw pitchers still going out there competing, and not that there wasn't any give up or we didn't realize that we were probably going to lose. Like that's all part of human nature, being beat badly. But I still feel like our offense, those guys went up there really getting after a couple of bats, and then I felt like it carried on to the next day. They came out and scored a couple runs early and then added on late. So you can really make up for those hiccups when you show up the next day and you kind of still stay consistent and stay in your approach.
I got a two-parter for you, Kyle. Number one, are you a big video guy in terms of studying video going into a start? And number two, in the heat of the moment, can you remember what the tendencies are of hitters in a 2-1 count, 0-2, whatever the case may be?
Okay, so I watch less video of other hitters now than I used to. I think it's more, I still look at a lot of numbers and a lot of tendencies at what they hit, but not necessarily their swing unless I've never faced them. If I've never faced them and I don't really know, how the swing path is, and if it helps me get a little bit better idea of their swing, then I definitely will watch video. I probably watch more video on myself and my delivery when I'm trying to make an adjustment or trying to avoid tipping pitches or how I'm moving down the mound, excuse me, than I watch on. Now, the second part, I take a lot of time on my scouting report, and I would say yes, I know those tendencies fairly well when I'm out on the mound. I go over the next 5 hitters that are coming up before every inning, and if it's on my paper or if it's something I've made a note of, I should have a pretty good idea of those tendencies if it's something that stood out.
It's really curious. Why do you stay away from video now more so than you did earlier in your career?
Video is a pretty good time consumer, and if there's nothing that you're actually watching video for, then you're just kind of sitting there watching video. I wouldn't say that I'm a hitting guru, so it's not like I can sit there and tell you when the guy loads this way or strides this way that his tendency is to miss this pitch. So really, I would like to see maybe, if I've never seen a guy swing, I'd like to see a few foul balls, on pitches that he's just missing. I'd like to see a couple balls that, on some of his hits maybe, maybe he didn't hit it that hard, or maybe, that's clearly where his swing path is. Because hitters can't cover everything, but I think you can get caught in a hole of just watching video if you're not really sure what you're watching for.
Kyle, I got to tell you, as a fan, I'm glad that you go over the first 5 hitters and not the first 7 that are coming up the next inning.
Well, sometimes I wish I would have. Every now and then you get to that 7th hitter. But most of the time, I like to think in my head that it's only going to be 5. It's always positive thinking, Randy. Always positive thinking.
I like that.
But more than likely, if the 7th hitter gets up, unless it's the first inning, I've already faced him, so I should be fine.
Oh, that's a good point. Is there, when you play a team like Kansas City, who the Cardinals don't see a lot, obviously, just in the middle of the season in interleague play, is there a lot more detail? Is the pitchers meeting before the series, a series like this, much different than it will be, for example, against the Cubs in the next series?
No, I'd say our meetings are pretty similar. I think maybe you don't meet every time you play the Cubs, but I think it's still pretty similar. Our advanced guys do a great job of hitting on different players, especially the ones that are really hot and swinging the bat well. Do a good job of without getting too much into the weeds, just like different approach on certain guys, and they go. What it seems to me, I have a specific meeting whenever I pitch, but it seems to me like we've got guys that go to each reliever and each starter and pick out the highlights from that lineup and what they need to know.
Kyle, defensively, things have been great for you guys. I wanted to ask you specifically about Michael Ciani. He has been such a great addition to the outfield, and we see him make game-changing plays like the other day where he had the 2 running catches right at the wall. How big of a difference maker has he been for you?
Huge difference maker. It's good defense is something that really, really stands out, and it really has a way of picking you up, especially when those plays come in big moments. But a good defense and plays that get made, we get used to seeing, I'll call average defense, right? I'm not saying our defense is average, but we watch so many games that we get used to seeing average and good defense. So when you see somebody make a play that you're like, wow, there's maybe 3 guys in the big leagues that make that play, it really stands out. And we've got quite a few guys on this team that do that. So, it's been really cool to watch him just, go out there in center field and seem so comfortable and do so well out there, because he's made a lot of plays that, probably don't get made by a lot of center fielders.
Okay, I have a baseball theory. Are you ready for it? And I want to get your thoughts, if you're up for it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, hit me with it.
All right, hitting is harder right now than it's ever been in the big leagues. The numbers bear that out. Do you find that the schedule has been advantageous for pitchers? So instead of, for instance, facing a team 18 times in your division, you may face an American League team just once in that year. Do you find that to be advantageous for pitchers?
Oh, man. I haven't, I don't know that we really talked about it in that regards. Yeah, I think that could be part of it. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it that way, honestly. I think the more bullpen usage, there's so many.
Well,
go into it, but sure. Can you hear me still? Sorry.
We got you, Kyle.
Okay, yeah. I think there's so many things that go into it, but yeah, I think anytime you don't see a pitcher that you're familiar with, it makes it difficult.
Okay, Kyle, over the next couple of weeks, we'll talk about the Olympics. But our next segment, we're going to ask how important it is for you, for us, for USA basketball to win the gold. Is that a big thing for you? Because it's baseball, softball not in the Olympics this year. Basketball is kind of America's game, and in 2004 we lost. So is it a big deal for you for Olympic basketball to win gold?
Is there a right answer here? I don't want it to seem like it's not important. I think, sure. I think it's really. I think that's exciting, right? Being, competing at a sport at the highest level. It's really exciting and fun to win. And those guys that, I don't know who all is on the team at the moment, but some of those guys have probably won NBA championships and been at the highest level, and then now they have a chance to do it on the world stage. But yeah, I think it would be a big deal, but I don't think it's necessarily. There's not many things in sports that I'm going to look at and say do or die, guys. That's how my mindset is. But I think it's a big deal when our country does well on these stage, and because these athletes work a long time and work really hard to do really well.
And by the way, it's LeBron, Curry, Tatum, Durant, Joel Embiid is on the team. It's the best of the best.
Those guys have won a little bit.
Yeah. So what about baseball, though? What about when we lost to Japan in the World Baseball Classic in Japan, where we're seeing it time and again, how great the players that come over here are. But as an American baseball player, when we didn't win the WBC, how did you feel about it?
I don't think it changed the way I looked at that group of American baseball players, like they couldn't get it done. I don't think that's it. I think I think it's a cool opportunity, and I think everybody goes there and takes it serious, because anytime you have your country under uniform, it's really, really exciting, and you obviously want to win because you feel like you have every baseball fan from your country pulling for you in that instance.
It looks like every guy could be pushed back in your rotation and get an extra day's rest. For the average fan out there and a guy that is every fifth day you're going out there, what does an extra day's rest do for a pitcher and how you feel? Or is it sometimes a negative where, you guys are creatures of habit and you want to go every fifth day?
I think an extra day is rarely a negative. I think anytime you can get we should really start so many times on 6 days because of the off days. So if, we have figure 20 off days, so the numbers are going to say that 20 of my starts are going to be on 6 days, or at least half of them, right? So going on 6 days is pretty normal, I would say, in today's game. I think once you get over 7, I think it becomes a little bit more of a big deal because it's just if you want to throw 2 bullpens or staying sharp and staying in your routine is a little bit harder. But 5 to 6 days, I normally love an extra day because it's amazing what an extra day of rest either before your bullpen or a day extra after your bullpen can really do for you.
Hey, Kyle, we are closing in on the start of NFL training camps. We've started talking about them here on the show, and that means that Big League Impact's fantasy football season is getting close as well, and people can learn more at bigleagueimpact.org. But I know that that's something that you're really looking forward to this year with being involved with our fantasy football league here in St. Louis.
Yeah, so I've told you guys before, it's really cool how Big League Impact events go here in St. Louis just because of the history here with Adam and it being such a staple here. Fantasy football is where it all started, and I know that this event is a huge event here in St. Louis, so I'm really, really excited for it. Adam's going to be coming back for it because obviously he can't miss fantasy football. If there's one thing he's probably addicted to, it's fantasy football. So he can't miss this event. So he's going to be here. There's going to be a lot of the Cardinals players that you're used to seeing there between Tommy Edman and a lot of the other guys that love fantasy football. So, go to bigleagueimpact.org. My guess is a lot of people have already signed up. They probably signed up as soon as the last week of football is over last year, honestly, because it's such a cool event to be a part of. But it'll be a day at the park and everything that Cardinals fans are used to. And if you haven't done it before and you enjoy fantasy football, please go to bigleagueimpact.org and come try it out because the day at the park, being involved in a fantasy football league with a Cardinals player or other athletes around St. Louis is always a lot of fun.
Hey, Kyle, did you catch Adam Wainwright yesterday on the Today Show?
I saw the replay, and, man, I'm sure he's having so much fun. It's so cool to see him doing different things. And, whether it's, behind the camera on a TV game or now on stage singing. He's coming to the Washington Town and Country Fair here up by where we live in August. Unfortunately, we're on the road, but, he's got to be having so much fun. I'm excited for him.
You're so well-spoken. It's fun to visit with you, and I know the fans really appreciate it. So Adam is behind the mic. Do you have a future behind the mic at some point?
Oh, boy. Not singing, I can tell you that. I don't want to do that right now.
Let me clarify that. As a baseball analyst.
I joke with Brad Thompson all the time, I was with him with the Twins one year, that hopefully I'll just take his job, but that's really not what I want to do. Brad's really good at it. I don't know how much I'm going to want to travel when I'm done playing, but I do love to talk, and I love to talk sports, so I'm sure that'd be something that I'll try to do at some point if the opportunity arises.
Hey, you don't have to travel much. Just to Creve Coeur, and you can talk sports every morning.
There you go.
Hey, there you go. How about that?
Yeah. So we want to see you pitch for a couple more years.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, Kyle. Hey, thanks as always for the time. We advise people to go to bigleagueimpact.org to sign up for the fantasy football. Enjoy the doubleheader today. And then I don't know if you heard Dan say that we need 9 or maybe even 10 out of you against the Cubs this weekend.
9 or 10. Hopefully we'll just go 9. Let's not put it to 10. Come on.
Sounds good. All right. Have a great one, Kyle. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Take care.
Thank
that is
you, Kyle
Gibson, Cardinal right-hander, with us on 101 ESPN.
He is always so good.
He's
and
great.
I love seeing the texts of people where they appreciate it as well. I agree with the 3 and 4 and with what you were saying, Dan. Kyle's a future TV analyst, but he also strikes me as a person where maybe he'll just enjoy retiring for a little bit and being around his kids.
I thought that would be the case for Waino. He might be more busy than when he was playing.
I feel like he is. He has the country album he's promoting. The performance was great, by the way. If you haven't seen that, it's all over social media. He did really well live.
He played out at the racetrack for the Enjoy Illinois 300. He was terrific. He was great.
Hey, Y'all is the name of the country album.
Yeah. So we're going to do the lineup game coming up next year on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here. Is credit card debt creating a lot of stress in your life? Well, you should go call my friends over at Golden Oak Lending. They can help with Smart Cash, which is low interest money. Let me tell you about a story that they actually shared with me recently. Amy just had her fourth child and they needed to finish up their basement in their house for the extra room for their family. She and her husband put most of their credit card debt, about $20,000 on there, but they were still paying double-digit credit card interest. They did their best paying $900 a month, but it was just really overwhelming for them. Her dad suggested calling Golden Oak Lending to see if her home had increased in value. That way she could use the extra equity to pay off the credit cards. Sure enough, even though they had refinanced before, their home had increased in value. Golden Oak got them their $20,000 in cash. She paid off their credit cards, and Amy is thrilled to not have a $900 a month payment hanging over her head. Many people just like Amy don't realize how easy it is to use their home's equity to get Smart Cash. If you need cash, you should call my friends over at Golden Oak Lending. It's easy. They do all of the work for you, and it won't cost you a penny out of pocket. So give them a call today at 314-567-GOLD now to get started, or go to goldenoaklending.com and see the reviews for yourself.
Cardinals will play the first game of the doubleheader at 12:45 this afternoon. They'll go against Royals second-year right-hander Alec Marsh, big fella, and he started off 3-0 with a 2.70 in April, but then since then He is 3-6, and his earned run average is up there over 5. So he has not been great of late. As a matter of fact, his only start this month has been was rather rugged. So he's he needs to be better. And the Cardinals hopefully will not allow him. Allow Alec Marsh to be better in the first game of the doubleheader. The lineup is in, and here we go.
Right off the bat, who's leading off?
Mason Wynn, right? Is that what we're going with here?
Win. Yeah, you'd be correct on that one. Mason Wynn leading off for the Cardinals. The 2-hole comes up.
Good.
Burley.
Burley.
We're going with the 1-2 punch here, right?
How big is he? Big man, that's for sure.
Hey, man. Okay,
what are the
forget
size of this fella?
Did you have something to say, Dan?
Sorry, Burley was right. I wasn't going to let you guys sabotage yourselves on that one. Burley batting second for the Cardinals.
What were you going to say?
Well, what's interesting is that this guy against left-handers, they're hitting only 229 against him and 271 with the right-handers. And with a doubleheader, you could load up with the right-handers against this guy, and that's something to think about as you move forward. I'm just saying, doubleheader could be a weird lineup. We'll see. I don't know.
Wynn, Burleson, who's batting third?
Contreras.
Now, the question would be, is he your DH or is he your catcher? Because you got to split one or the other.
That's a good question.
I would think that
Would you have him
Pages
catching?
will have more history with Gordon Graceffo.
See, that's where I'm going. I think Pages starts tonight, and Contreras starts today at catcher,
That
but I
makes
could be
sense.
wrong.
So where are we going in 3?
Contreras.
Oh, we're going to 3
As your catcher.
You wanted the animal, Colonel. You got it.
Wilson Contreras batting third for the Cardinals. Who's batting cleanup?
Goldie.
Goldie.
I love gold.
That's probably
Nicely
my favorite
done.
one. I love Austin Powers movies.
Do you want to try Nolan Arenado here?
I would.
Yeah, that's what
where
you
I'm
should
going.
do.
Okay.
Nope.
Oh, we're switching things
Arenado's
up.
not batting fifth.
Donovan.
Yeah, Donovan bats fifth. He's got to be playing left and batting fifth.
All right. Way to go, Donnie.
Nicely done there. Now we move it down to 6th.
Now we go
it's
Arenado.
Nolan. Yeah.
Oh, you're going Gorman?
No, Arenado.
Arenado
The
for
other
me.
Nolan.
The other
Okay.
Nolan.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It's a tornado!
Nicely done there. Batting 7th for the Cardinals.
Newt.
We are back, baby. We are back.
There it is. Lars Nootbaar in the lineup for the Cardinals, batting 7th.
Where are you putting him then in defensively?
Left.
Donovan.
Oh, Donovan's
And Burley's in the lineup, so he's
Well,
going to be
who's
playing
DHing?
center.
Okay, so
Wait.
you put Newton right, just like he was the other day.
Who's going to play center?
Siani. He hits 9th.
But you have...
Then you have
Donovan.
Pages.
Pages hits 8th
Yep, that's right. Or Gorman. Where's Gorman going to play?
tonight.
Oh, so you think he's off today? In the
So we
first
have-
game?
So I think you could rest one or the other. Somebody's got to play center field, and I would imagine that's Lars Nootbaar then, with the way that the lineup is constructed, if he's in the lineup, which he is.
So Newton center.
Who's batting 8th?
Donovan.
Pages.
I'm sorry, you were incorrect.
Oh, no. Nolan Gorman.
Gorman.
Oh, okay.
And
Do it yourself, big man. Nolan Gorman batting 8th for the Cardinals.
And then
Okay,
you have
now
Pages
Pages.
catch.
No,
Yeah.
Pages tonight. Siani.
I'm flip-flopping.
No, well, because we
I'm putting Contreras as my DH.
Oh, okay. I thought we had.
have Pages, remember, for the night game with Gordon Graceffo.
That's what I thought.
I'm flip-flopping. I'm going the other way. I'm going Pages. I know what you're saying.
You got Gorman in the game, though. We have Gorman.
He's going to play second base.
Who's playing your center field?
Nootbaar.
Okay, so you've got Burley and
Right.
Burley. Okay, so yeah, you almost. Okay, you're right.
So what are we going for 9th?
Pages.
Quit it! We're in the presence of the Page Master.
There it is. Pedro
there we go.
Pages batting 9th for the Cardinals. Mason Wynn leading off, playing shortstop. Alec Burleson in the 2-hole in right field. Wilson Contreras batting 3rd in the DH spot. Paul Goldschmidt is playing first base, batting cleanup. Brendan Donovan in left field, batting 5th. Nolan Arenado at the hot corner, batting 6th. Lars Nootbaar in center field, batting 7th. Nolan Gorman at second base. And Pedro Pages bats 9th and is behind the plate.
I figured it out eventually after he read it. I did.
It's kind of tough to figure out
After
when
he
you're doing
read
it on
it,
the
I
fly.
It is, yeah.
There's a lot of differences there. Okay, I brought this up the other day. How do we feel about Brendan Donovan sandwiched in between Goldschmidt and Arenado.
I like it.
I like it.
Yeah, I think you split up the righties, and I'm moving up Donovan, getting key at bats. I'm fine with that.
Theoretically, if everything was the way it should be, that should be Nolan Gorman. But
Yes.
Gorman isn't doing enough to be that guy right
100%.
now.
Yep. You hit it on the head.
Coming up, Bob Nightengale of USA Today talking some trade deadline here in the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals and Royals will play a doubleheader today. 12:45 first pitch for Game 1, 6:45 first pitch for Game 2. Lineup for Game 1 is out. Andre Palante will be the starter for Game 1, and right now the reporting is that Gordon Graceffo will be the 27th man and the starter for Game 2 for the Cardinals. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Randy Carricker, great to have you with us on the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. Always good to talk to our friend Bob Nightengale of USA Today, who joins us on the celebrity line this morning. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Yeah, doing great. How about you guys?
Good. It's good to hear your voice, Bob. And obviously, you always have your ear to the ground, especially at this time of year. What are you hearing about the Cardinals? Do you think they'll be aggressive buyers?
I think there'll be a buyers for sure. I hate to use the word aggressive just because there's not a whole lot out there. I think for the Cardinals, the best thing that could happen to them is that the Texas Rangers fall this race. And, the Rangers have just won 5 in a row. But I say that because they have, two pitchers that everybody would love to have, and Max Scherzer and Nathan Eovaldi. Scherzer, of course, is a St. Louis native, and he's always wanted to pitch for the Cardinals. He has a full no-trade clause. I would think he would waive it for St. Louis. So, but they got to be out of the race, and right now they're not out of the race.
Bob, thank you again so much for joining us. Now, looking at the wish list for the Cardinals at the trade deadline, what do you think are the top priorities? Right-handed bat, starting pitcher, bullpen addition. What do you think the top priorities are for the Cardinals at the trade deadline?
I would think go get one more starter. You still have a very veteran staff. Beat up a little bit, but just with the depth there, I would get one more proven starter. To go with Sonny Gray in the postseason, and then everybody's always looking for a bullpen. So I would think it would add at least one more person there. And I'm not sure about the bat. There's not that much available in teams like Kansas City, who the Cardinals are playing, and Seattle seem to be much more desperate for a bat than St. Louis.
Are you going to find this trade deadline to be as intriguing as many as you've covered, Bob, just because so many teams are still in the race?
Yeah, I don't think so. I really don't, because just like you said, I think there's only 5 teams on the race, only 2 in the National League, with the Marlins and the Rockies. Everybody else is still alive. So I know GMs are saying, hey, we didn't know we need to know one way or the other whether we're going to be in this thing or not. But just, there'll be some inventory, but not star-studded inventory. There's no Juan Soto out there. There's no Justin Verlander out there. So I don't think there's any one person someone could grab and legitimately say, oh, that guy's going to push us over the top.
You mentioned Max Scherzer and Nathan Eovaldi as possibilities if the Rangers, of course, want to be sellers at the trade deadline. Is there some other starting pitchers out there that we should be looking for that could be good fits for the Cardinals?
Well, one guy that everybody wants is for the White Sox, Garrett Crochet. The trouble is he's already a dominant pitcher. You have him for 2 more years. He's not making any money. Making $800,000, which is barely over the minimum. The trouble is he's already pitched his career high in innings, so I'm not sure how much he can give a team, come September or October. That part, is going to kind of hurt his value. But as far as starting pitchers, you still have teams like the Baltimore Orioles desperate for one in those teams. But there's not that guy that jumps out. Seattle has an inventory, but they want a major league bat, in return. So there's not, there really isn't much out there. Luzardo was available for Miami, Jesus Luzardo, but now he's hurt. Could always bring back, Jack Flaherty, who of course, was with the Cardinals all those years. He's certainly available.
Bob Nightengale of USA Today with us in the opening drive on 101 ESPN. And Bob, one of the things that we talked about earlier in our show is because of the lack of apparent depth from teams that are out of it, maybe teams go back to making an old-time baseball trade. Is that a possibility where the Cardinals could look at their depth of left-handed hitting outfielders and maybe go make a trade for a pitcher or right-handed hitting outfielder for a team that needs a lefty hitter? Do teams have it in them anymore to make baseball trades?
Yeah, I mean, it's harder, from contender to contender. But the one team that jumps out with that is Seattle, because they have so much pitching, and they really, really need a bat. So yeah, if you're talking about like a guy like Dylan Carlson or someone like that with the excess bats, or even a Jordan Walker, I do think we'll hear his name out there just because young prospect. He hasn't got it going with St. Louis. And, people say, you know what, we think we can turn them around. So that's a possibility for teams, too. But they're, like you said, Ray, they're rare.
It's interesting you talk about Jordan Walker. What is the appetite, or at least of other teams, and what is the thought of where he ranks now among the top prospects in baseball?
Well, he's, still around. I mean, still, I think, top 100, but he just hasn't done with St. Louis. Obviously, the Cardinals know him better than anybody else. So some scouts have got to look at him and say, hey, we think we see the flaw here. We think we can turn him around. So it's like, okay, he may not work here, but he'll work in our place. And we see that. Sometimes players just need a complete change of scenery, and they take off. I mean, Seattle used to love their prized outfielder, Jared Kelenic, never turning on for Seattle. They trade him Atlanta, and he's thrived there. He's better than anything the Mariners have right now. So you just never know. And, maybe return, same thing with the Cardinals, grab someone else's prospect that hasn't taken off and said, okay, we think we can turn him around.
Bob, I have a question for you that is almost impossible to answer because of the random nature of the postseason. But, man, I watch these Phillies all the time, and I wonder who the hell's going to beat Philadelphia. Do you feel kind of the same way, even with the Dodgers being what they are?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're certainly the best team on paper. And the big reason, I mean, besides the star power, in the lineup with, Harper and Schwarber and everybody else and Trey Turner, is that pitching. And when you can throw, a Wheeler, a Nola, a Ranger Suarez at you, that's tough to beat. The bullpen's been very solid. But that being said, I mean, Arizona, they had a very good team last year. Arizona knocked them off in the playoffs. And I think what Arizona did last year, and Texas to a degree, is that you get in, anything can happen. In the Phillies, those bats just got cold at the wrong time. So, and I'm with you, the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers keeping this rude awakening just like a year ago, where they just don't have the pitching come playoff time. The team that's built, so much for the regular season. But right now, they have it. Their guys on their injury list are better than everybody's active rotation. I mean, those are some star-studded guys who are all hurt right now.
Bob, what do you think about the futures of Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt with the Cardinals? Obviously, it's been no secret that they both have had their struggles at times this season, both picking it up a little bit at the plate here as of late. But the big question surrounding, I believe, Goldschmidt is, of course, the fact that he hasn't signed an extension yet with the Cardinals. What do you think about their futures with the club?
Yeah, Nolan Arenado was under contract, so he's not going anywhere. I think if Paul Goldschmidt just kind of depends on what happens to the second half, where the Cardinals say, okay, we still believe in you. We'll bring you back at maybe a discount price, or some of their team steps in and says, we're looking back at his bubblegum card, and we think he'll still step up. And there's no better example of that than Albert Pujols. I mean, who saw Pujols take off there in the second half? And I think the same thing could happen with guys like Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, they certainly just can't, forget how they hit. So I expect them, to be much better in the second half. They're just too many examples of veterans, who look awful first half and then just, turn it on, when the team needs it the most.
Bob, there's such a great influx of shortstop talent right now in the game, specifically in the National League. Where would you put Mason Wynn among some of the top shortstops, young shortstops in the game?
Yeah, Carlos Correa was just talking about him, but I remember him back. He used to be it was Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, Nomar Garcia. Who's better among those three? And now you got, of course, the kid in town, Bobby Witt Jr., Gunnar Henderson, Ellie De La Cruz with the Reds, and then probably a Mason Wynn jumps in there. But yeah, I mean, great guy to have, and he's been everything the Cardinals have wanted. Great defense, great makeup, great person. So yeah, I think certainly probably the top 5 shortstops in the game right now for sure.
Bob, we always appreciate your time. By the way, great piece on Carlos Correa at USA Today. One other thing here, and because you are such a USA Today is such a click-based industry now, just because we don't pick up the paper as much as we used to, is this the busiest month in terms of reaction to what you're getting? When you talk about the trade deadline, is this the busiest month for you in terms of the people reading your work because of the trade deadline?
Yeah, it's always fascinating how much people love the trade deadline. It's like you start talking about it in April. And, I don't think it's like that in the other sports where just people are so hyped on it. And, a lot of it's filtering, hey, what's really true, what's false, are these teams really, willing to trade these type of guys? So, but it's certainly a busy month because of the, All-Star game coming up, next Tuesday. And then next weekend is at Cooperstown with the Hall of Fame. And then, of course, 2 weeks later is a trade deadline. But people in baseball are just, fascinated by that trade deadline. And I don't think things really pick up until after the draft, which ends a week from, let's say it's All-Star game night. Then probably GMs will take a breather for a few days, and then it'll pick up. But, in the past, it's like there's no real trades that occur, big ones, until about the last 72 hours.
Well, we'd love to have you on in that last week before the deadline and have fun with everything that's going on in this busy week of baseball, and we'll see you at the ballpark soon.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Take care. Bob Nightengale, USA Today, with us on 101 ESPN.
He said my pleasure.
He worked at Chick-fil-A.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure is what you're supposed to say.
It's my
But
pleasure.
yes.
I messed up. Sorry.
No,
it's my pleasure.
fine.
He's great. He's a fun guy to have. And by the way, spends a lot of time here and is he's not a Cardinal fan, but he loves covering the Cardinals, and he appreciates the Cardinals. He always has.
He's here a lot.
Yeah.
He's here in St. Louis an awful lot. I think he might be based out of Arizona.
He is now, yeah.
So he's traveling all over the place. By the way, if you get to the ballpark early, I think tonight is the night that they will honor the late, great Whitey Herzog before the game. So if you're heading down to the ballpark, get there early.
All right. I might head on over.
Yep, you should.
He should be honored. Look what I'm wearing today, a Whitey Herzog golf tournament shirt.
Yeah, you're ready to go for tonight.
It's quite yellow.
It is. So Whitey loved the bright colors. It's interesting. Whitey didn't like blue. And so the Cardinals switched from the baby blue to the gray under his watch because he didn't like blue. And when he started, they had navy blue. Remember the satin navy blue jackets? It was all red when Whitey was in charge.
Yeah, it was. Do you guys like the victory blues or the baby blues? Whatever.
Love them.
Yeah, they're kind of fun.
I do like them. I like all the different uniforms,
I do
personally.
too. I'm a fan. Coming up, we've got Rocc and Roll as we head down the stretch here on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here for Universal Windows Direct. The heat has arrived and it's only going to get hotter from here. Do not cool off the outside this year. You should call my guys over at Universal Windows Direct. I love the summertime, but I do not love that energy bill that comes with it. And that's where Universal comes in handy. Their windows feature super spacer technology, which helps keep the edge of the glass warmer, holds the window seal longer, and makes your windows last up to 5 times longer than other Windows systems. So your windows from Universal perform better and they last longer. Schedule your free in-home estimate today, and for every 2 windows you buy, you get the next 2 for free, plus 0% financing for 60 months. That's 3 years. Restrictions apply. Universal Windows Direct backs it all up with a true lifetime warranty as long as you own the home, and a 20-year warranty to the next homeowner. Mention my name and get an additional $250 off your next project. So go to UWD.com. That's UWD.com, and like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
And roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
It is time for Rock and Roll here on 101 ESPN. And Matthew Rocchio, what do you got for us?
I wanted to actually play some audio we were unable to get to earlier in the show. We were talking about the Cardinals, what they need to make, the move they need to make at the deadline, and we played some audio from Ken Rosenthal. He mentioned the need for pitching, but he also pushed the need for offense, which I thought was fascinating. And Katie Wu was actually on with BK and Ferrario yesterday, and she went a little bit deeper into exactly the kind of play they would like to make for an outfielder and why. Here's Katie Wu breaking it down on BK and Ferrario yesterday.
I think you're looking for an outfield bat if you're John Mozeliak on the Cardinals, and you're looking for that specifically because they don't really truly platoon, right? Like Brendan Donovan, Lars Nootbaar, when healthy, they stay in the lineup every day. So will Alec Burleson. Ollie Marmol made that clear over the National Series when he talks about guys that he just simply won't platoon. And Burleson has earned every bit of being a mainstay in the lineup. Where he'd like to maybe platoon the position is center field. Michael Ciani, in my mind, Gold Glover defender, not the best production against left-handed pitching. So if you're looking for an outfielder that can slot in, and this kind of ties into if Tommy Edman is healthy or not, then all of a sudden you have a little bit more flexibility where you can platoon the positions, not necessarily platoon the players, but you can get your best kind of maximum lineup output by putting in a right-handed outfielder that can play the corners, maybe some center, but that's not like a true requirement.
This was fascinating to me. And then we did the lineup game, and literally the thing that we got hung up on was, well, who's playing center field for the Cardinals today? And so this really just kind of amplified a thought that I hadn't really thought of. And Dan, I know earlier in the show you said directly, you got to be playing Michael Ciani as much as you can because he's making an impact on the team. So your guys' thoughts about making a move specifically to create more of a platoon at the center field spot?
I think if there is a right-hander on the mound, Ciani's got to play. Now, I know that that's not happening here in Game 1 of a doubleheader. I get that, but if there's a right-hander on the mound, I want to see Ciani play. And here's the other part of this, too. He hasn't torn it up offensively, but depending on who you have out there, your best defensive outfield is Michael Ciani in center field. And then if Burleson is in right, you're up in a game, you can take him out for defensive purposes, put somebody else in, Nootbaar, whatever the case may be. You can shift guys around in the outfield. So for me, though, Ciani has made himself into a major league player, and it will be interesting in the final 2 months to see how they deploy the lineup, because against lefties, I'm not so sure.
How about a guy, though, that has a career OPS of 1.013 against right-handed pitching?
So you're talking about Mike Trout?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
here we go
Trout.
again. First it was Mbappe. Now it's Mike Trout. What else are we going to ask for?
Who else you want there, Randy? You want Max Scherzer, I know that.
Max Scherzer would be fun. Here's the thing about Max Scherzer that intrigues me. Mm-hmm. And he's only pitched, 3 games this year? But Max Scherzer is crazy competitive. And I think that competitiveness on a young team like this would permeate throughout the group.
I would say the other thing, too, is that if you go out and get a player or a Max Scherzer, whomever it may be, but it shows that the front office and ownership cares and the players have put themselves in a position to win, and it's a jolt throughout the clubhouse. There's another thing that is a byproduct of bringing a player in, and I think that's important. I really do, especially when the players have dug out of this hole and gotten themselves into a position of postseason play. You go out and get a bat, you get some arms, whatever the case may be, but it is a jolt inside a clubhouse you don't stand pat. It's like the front office is saying, ownership is saying, we believe in you and we're trying to give you the best chance to win. And it's kind of a way of rewarding those players as you go along.
Do you think they'll be able to get all three of what we've discussed? A starting pitcher, bullpen piece, and maybe a right-handed bat?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, I think they could.
You get creative. I think you could. I think it'll cost you major league talent, but
yeah.
Hey, that's part of dealing with trade deadline and what you want to do to improve your team.
Yeah. They have enough prospects that they can pull that off. Now, the question is, are they going to continue to hoard their prospects like they have in the past? Or are they going to finally decide, you know what, we've got enough of these guys. We're okay. We can move one of them. But they have to choose the right one, too.
And choosing the right one on your major league roster, too.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be guys there that you're going to have a problem, I think, at some point, a good problem when Tommy Edman is healthy and trying to figure out playing time, keep guys sharp, and they're all outfielders. So got to get creative.
Yeah. By the way, how would you like to be the Angels? Mike Trout turns 33 next week on August, a couple of weeks. On August 7th, he turns 33. He is due $37 million a year for the next 6 years.
6?
Yep, through age 38. Ages 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, $37,116,667 million a year.
Wow. And how many games has he played here, Randy? He's only played a handful this year, and then last year he was hurt. Year before he missed time.
Yeah, he has been 109 at-bats this year in 29 games. Last year he played 82 games. The year before that, 119. In 2021, he only played 36. In the COVID season, he played 53 of the 60. Before that, 134, 140. Only played 114 in 2017. He was very durable until his age 25 season. Since age 25 season, though, he's played more than 134 games one time.
Make you think twice, wouldn't you?
About getting him or signing him.
Yeah.
The Angels cursed.
Yes, kind of.
It feels that way.
It's not great. We had great work today from our producer and audio and video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
By the way, what's the new guy at City's name?
Jake Girdwood Reich.
And what number is he wearing?
He's wearing number 3.
Okay. Reich is wearing 3. Great.
And why do you say that, Randy?
No.
I find it interesting from a historical perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Frank Reich didn't wear number 3.
No, he didn't.
When he was the quarterback of the Bills. Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes, I did.
Good. I'm glad. Danny is off to record Sunday morning's golf with Jay Delsing and Danny Mac show.
Well, that's live, Randy. It's a quote-unquote live show.
Live
to tape.
Live
to tape. There we go.
So we'll be
like
out
Stephen Colbert.
Well, we'll be out at Elevate Golf. Come out and see us. It's in Lake St. Louis.
In Lake St. Louis.
Yeah.
Enjoy
have you been
that.
there?
I never have, no.
I have not.
I've been to Lake St. Louis, but
I
not
have too.
Elevate Golf.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Come on out and say hello.
All right. You have a great day. Thank you, sir. You were awesome.
No, you were.
Danny Mac is always awesome.
Oh, here we go.
No, and we thank you. We've got a balloon party coming up with T-Mac and Ajax, then followed by BK and Ferrario, and then the Fast Lane from 2 to 6 this afternoon. And then, let's see, on the 13th, that's our next play-by-play, Orioles and Junkies, here on 101 ESPN. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show for all of us until tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. Have a wonderful hump day, St. Louis. Hey, if you have yet to get that air conditioner serviced during this summer month, then you need to get in touch with my friends at Hoffman Brothers Heating and Cooling. Hoffman Brothers